This ain't on there. I play sorry, I had to invite another friend in the party. Yeah, I had to.
Landing complete. You may land when ready. Our facilities are at your disposal, Commander.
Had to bring him a party.
We thank commanders for their partnership in servicing the flight corridor.
Correct. There we go.
Welcome warmly to this facility and to Imperial Sovereign territory, where
Mission critical message.
We would like to thank pilots for their promptness when alighting and exiting the docking bay.
Landing gear retracted.
Ship release. Please exit the station safely and promptly.
That's Type 7. Look at that.
celebrity admits to faking disappearance. The actor Consuela Knight, who recently vanished from her private yacht along with its crew, has been located at a luxury retreat. An anonymous reporter told independent newsfeed The Sovereign. Consuela Knight was spotted alive and well at the Skyflow Havens on the Ria Archipelago, where she had been living under a false identity. When challenged, Miss Knight admitted that her disappearance was in fact an elaborate hoax. Fearing that her career was she arranged her mysterious disappearance to enhance her fame, paying her crew enormous sums to follow suit. Miss Knight has now fled Ria and is presumably living in seclusion elsewhere. Many of Knight's fans have disputed this account, claiming that such elaborate deception is out of character for the actor. Authorities have accepted the explanation, however, and the investigation has been officially closed. Week in Review. Here are this week's main stories. Pharmaceutical giant Vandermeer Corporation has won the license to distribute Vitadine Labs' nanomedical product. In a statement, Professor Catriona Rooks said the organization's infrastructure and supply routes meant the nanomeds would soon be available to the galactic community. Hadrian Augustus Devan has broadcast a message following the purge of isolationist group Nova Imperium, vowing to continue to pursue his claim on the Imperial throne. During the transmission, Devan claimed to have assumed the title of the recently executed Imperator Cato Mordanticus and accused Aris Alavigny Devan's human brutality and terror. In other news, actor Consuela Knight, who recently vanished from her private yacht along with its crew, has been located at a luxury retreat. When questioned, Miss Knight admitted that her disappearance was an elaborate hoax designed to enhance her own career. Many of Knight's fans have disputed this account, but authorities have accepted the explanation. And finally, billionaire investor Lexi October has announced plans
Incoming mission-critical message.
to save technology company Supertech from bankruptcy by funding a commodity drug. October confessed an admiration for the company's imagination and expertise, and said she hoped the enterprise would provide Supertech with the materials necessary to resume its innovative work. And those are the main stories this week. Investors set sights on Supertech. Billionaire investor Lexi October has announced plans to save technology company Supertech from bankruptcy. Although Supertech's top design proved to be impractical, I feel that a company with such imagination and expertise deserves another chance to succeed. So I have decided to fund a commodity drive to get Supertech back on its feet. I have invited the People's Rakapula Progressive Party to organize shipments of computer components, auto fabricators and hardware diagnostic sensors, which will enable Supertech to resume its innovative work. Deliveries should be made to Stone Enterprise, in the Rakapula system. To protect traders, the People's Rakapula Progressive Party has placed a kill order on all wanted ships in the system. The initiative begins on the 31st of January 3305 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately.
Orbital flight engaged.
Vitadine campaign ends. An initiative from Vitadine Labs to award a
Hull integrity compromised.
distribution license to a pharmaceutical company has now concluded. Professor Catriona Rooks announced. Thanks to many hard-working traders, both Neo Medical Industries and the Vandermeer Corporation received enormous quantities of advanced medicines, computer components and auto fabricators. We are evaluating each company's ability to manufacture the nanomedicines and will award the contract shortly. Pilots who made deliveries to Neo Medical Industries can now collect their awards from Pisacia Port in Alignac, while those who delivered to the Vandermeer Corporation can collect their awards from Elian Dock in Kuma. The new Imperator. Hadrian Augustus Devan has broadcast a message following the purge of isolationist group Nova Imperium. Aris Alavigny Devan has revealed the true face of her regime, one based on brutality and terror. The callous execution of Imperator Mordanticus, in conjunction with thousands of Imperial citizens, shows her desperation to cling on to power at any cost. Nova Imperium survives in the Parisa system, a single light in the darkness. We stand for an empire that respects everyone, from slaves to senators. I truly hope that any who value honor and tradition will help keep our spark alive. Our martyred leader will never be forgotten. In his honor, I have taken the title of Imperator Deval, until such time as the people choose me as their rightful emperor. Memento Mordanticus. Utopia condemns approval of Vitadine nanomedicines. The decision of the Interstellar Health Organization, IHO, to approve
Incoming mission critical message.
Vitadine Labs' nanomedicines has been condemned by Utopia. Sim Guru Pranav Antal made this statement. The IHO has allowed Vitadine to steal and replicate utopian nanomedical technology purely for their financial gain. This is why we do not share our advancements with the galaxy. Independent healthcare analyst Dr. Henry Gray commented, Vitadine sees the Interstellar Health Organization's decision as a victory, but others in the medical community have expressed reservations. To deny Utopia's ownership of these nanomedicines means permanently closing the door on any future cooperation with the community. What other potential benefits have been lost? Vitadine Labs has invited pharmaceutical giants Neomedical Industries and Vandermeer Corporation to bid for a license to distribute Vitadine nanomedicine in their territories. Week in Review. Here are this week's main stories. Queso Mordanticus, leader of isolationist group Nova Imperium, has been executed by Senator Denton Patrius. All known members of the group have been put to death as part of a systematic purge, and citizens who supported Nova Imperium have been arrested for treason. Nova Imperium remains in control of the Parisa system, but with the organization's power base destroyed, it no longer poses a threat to the Imperial throne. The decision of the Interstellar Health Organization, IHO, to approve Vitadine Labs' nanomedicines has been condemned by Utopia. Sim Guru Pranav Antal issued a statement accusing the IHO of allowing Vitadine to steal and replicate utopian nanomedical technology purely for their financial gain. In related news, Vitadine has launched an initiative to establish a new pharmaceutical production facility. Neomedical Industries, which supplies Alliance and Independent Systems, and the Vandermeer Corporation, which operates exclusively within federal space, have both been invited to compete for a distribution license. The mysterious disappearance of actor Consuelo Knight and the crew of her yacht has affected confidence in commercial space travel, negatively impacting many businesses. A memorial service to honor Knight's career is planned, but has been overshadowed by rumors of abductions and disintegrations while in hyperspace. Finally, a request for mined materials from the Omega Mining Corporation has concluded. Independent pilots delivered large quantities of raw materials, which will be used to build an Orbis starport in the Stume FGY D7561 system. The starport will serve as a center for scientific research, gathering data on the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. And those are the main stories this week. The fall of Nova Imperium. Security forces across the Empire have carried out a coordinated purge of the isolationist group Nova Imperium. Political journalist Cassia Carvalho reported, yesterday's executions in the Senate were apparently only the beginning of a coordinated massacre. Nova Imperium members are being put to death, and citizens who supported them are being arrested for treason. In a single day, the isolationist cause has been crushed. It seems that Emperor Arisalav Deval, while being accused of weakness, has simply been playing for time, allowing Senator Patrius to position his agents for a simultaneous strike. With this show of strength, the Emperor has done much to silence her detractors. Despite reactions of horror from some news feeds, Alliance and federal leaders have made no official comment, perhaps relieved that inter-superpower cooperation against the Thargoids will continue. Nova Imperium remains in control of the Parisa system, but with the organization's power base destroyed, it no longer poses a threat to the Imperial throne. Blood on the Senate floor. Queso Mordanticus, the captured leader of isolationist group Nova Imperium, has been brought before the Imperial Senate with unexpected results. Political journalist Cassia Carvalho was at the scene. Imperator Mordanticus was led into Senate House in shackles but still defiant. All rose as Emperor Arisalavigny Deval entered, attended by Senator Denton Patrius. The Emperor and Patrius approached Mordanticus silently, whereupon Patrius executed the Imperator with his personal sidearm. Suddenly, The Imperial Guard opened fire, gunning down Senators Pal Vespasian and Eloise Winterstone, and others who had supported the isolationist cause. Once the initial shock had subsided, the Emperor stood over the Imperator's body. In a clear voice she announced, "There is no Nova Imperium. There is only the Empire. I have since heard reports of mass arrests and further public executions across Capital. The rumor is that Patrias placed agents among Nova Imperium strongholds, which are now being eliminated from within. This may be the start of an empire-wide purge." Success for Distant Worlds Initiative. A request for mined materials from the Omega Mining Corporation has concluded. Independent pilots delivered large quantities of indite.
Lego, Alpha, Lima, Delta. The Empire is overjoyed to have you stay at this facility, Commander.
Garlite, praseodymium, and cobalt, which will be used to build an Orbis starport in the Stumaev GY D7561 system. The starport will serve as a center for scientific research, gathering data on the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. Erimus Kamzel, the Distant Worlds project leader, commented, "It is with great pride that we announce the successful conclusion to this resource extraction initiative. The fleet will now continue its journey, and is scheduled to reach the galactic core in several weeks' time. Contributors to the campaign can now collect their rewards from
Had the
Omega
time
Mining
perfectly.
Operation in the Omega Sector VEQ B515 system.
Permission has been approved. Please continue to bay 06. Ready for automated documentation.
Vitadyne Nanomed's campaign. Professor Katrian Rook of Vitadyne Labs has launched an initiative to establish a new pharmaceutical production facility. In a statement, Professor Rook said, "Vitadyne Labs lacks the infrastructure to mass-produce nanomedicines, so we have invited 2 pharmaceutical companies to bid for a distribution license. The company that puts forward the most convincing proposal will secure the contract. The companies in question are Neomedical Industries, which supplies Alliance and Independent Systems, and the Vandermeer Corporation, which operates exclusively within federal space. Both have requested advanced medicines,
Landing gear deployed.
future components and auto-fabricators for the
Sensor flight level 300.
construction of nanomed manufacturing plants. Deliveries for Neomedical Industries should be made to Alignac Jet Eagle and Pope
Yeah.
at P-Sertia Port in Alignac, while shipments for the Vandermeer Corporation should be delivered to the Liberal
Remember what we were talking about?
of Kuma at Iliad Dock in Kuma.
Remember when we were
The
walking
initiative
into
begin
town?
on the
We were
24th
going
of
to
January
Yeah.
3306.
talking about like pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like medical reports and
Yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
just money and
Commercial
everything.
travel impacted by hyperspace fears. The
Can I read?
mysterious disappearance of actor Consuelo Knight and the crew of her yacht has affected confidence in commercial space travel. Independent newsfeed The Sovereign
It's creepy, isn't it?
Just a bit.
Consuelo Knight's empty ship pulling into port has caused unease in consumer markets. Rumors of abductions and disintegrations while in hyperspace have negatively impacted many businesses. Ship manufacturer South Kruger has said that sales of customized luxury yachts, such as Miss Knight's, have plummeted. Cruise bookings with astrogated tours are being cancelled, while commercial operators have reported a drop in passenger numbers. Plans are underway for a memorial service to
Just a
honor
bit.
Consuelo Knight's career. But hold on.
So that's how God
We have released your ship. You may ascend to escape altitude.
Real legacy is the fear that her fate could befall any interstellar traveler. Week in review. Here are this week's main stories. The conflict in the Paris system has ended with Nova Imperium being defeated by Imperial forces. As the conflict drew to a close, Senator Denton Patrias
Frameshift drive charging.
declared that the isolationists' forces had been
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
depleted. In related news, Imperator Mordunticus, the leader of isolationist group Nova Imperium, has been captured by the Empire. His arrest was made during the conflict between Nova Imperium and the Empire in the Palliser system. The Imperator will be brought before the Senate on Friday the 25th of January to answer charges of treason against the Empire. The Interstellar Health Organization...
Hey, we got someone on the stream.
has approved
What's happening, dude? Thanks for
nanomedicines
taking the
as
time.
a legal medical
Not
product.
the lot.
The IHO has lifted all restrictions, with the caveat that distribution must be handled by an established pharmaceutical company. The disappearance of famous actor Consuelo Knight and the crew of her luxury yacht has sparked a flood of rumors. Independent reporter Flynn filemaker Lafos discussed the mystery on the Rewired news feed, speculating that a Thargoid weapon could be responsible, among other theories. Finally, the Omega Mining Corporation has requested deliveries of raw materials for a new Orbis starport to be built in the heart of the galaxy. The construction of this starport constitutes part of the ambitious Distant Worlds 2 expedition. Project leader Erimus Kanzel stated the objective to be humanity's first starport in the Galactic Center region. And those are the main stories this week. Mystery of missing crew sparks rumors. The disappearance of famous actor Consuelo Knight and the crew of her luxury yacht has sparked a flood of rumors. Independent reporter Flynn filemaker Lafos discussed the mystery on the Rewired news feed. The scientists say this might be an anomaly that only affects organic tissue, but that doesn't explain the discovery of Consuelo.
Lakon, Alpha, Lima, Delta. The Empire cordially welcomes you. Please complete landing procedures within your allocated time slot. Approval granted. Set course.
Thargoid weapon that disintegrates humans while leaving ships intact. Or maybe the cultists were right, and the Thargoid has started snacking on individuals before it arrives to eat the whole universe. For all we know, this has been happening to ships for years. Maybe it usually gets hushed up, which is harder to do when a big name... Celebrity vanishes. Which of us might be next?
Scan detected.
About the next time we jump into hyperspace. Imperator Mordanticus captured. Imperator Mordanticus, the leader of isolationist group Nova Imperium, has been captured by the Empire. His arrest was made during the conflict
Landing gear deployed.
between Nova Imperium and the Empire in the Parisa system. Chancellor Randus Blaine made a pronouncement on behalf of...
Landing complete. You may alight when ready. The Imperial Flight Operations Bureau wishes you a pleasant and productive visit, Commander.
The Emperor Rallis avidly devout. With its fleet destroyed, Nova Imperium's seditious agenda has been halted. The so-called Imperator, Duke Caesar Mordanticus, will be brought before the Senate on Friday the 25th of January to answer charges of treason against the Empire. Political journalist Cassio Carval has commented in the Imperial Herald. For the Emperor to assemble the entire Senate is a rare occurrence. It seems likely that she will make an example of Mordanticus, perhaps with a public trial. Although Nova Imperium survives in the Parisa system, the loss of both its fleet and military commander may have delivered a mortal blow to the isolationist cause.
You down? Turn the dryer part off. Tried to say let's put the clothes in the dryer.
The Empire. Introduction. What a piece of work is man. How noble in reason. How infinite in faculty. In form and moving. How express and admirable. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world. The paragon of admirals. Shakespeare, Hamlet.
When our ancestors departed Earth, they are landing here.
Ship released. You are clear for departure.
Which of our achievements represents the best of humanity, that we may bring it with us to illumine the dark? The Federation, embroiled in a world of contracts, petty bickering, chose their master. They placed their trust not in man himself, but in an imperfect world of man. But my ancestor, your first emperor...
Hey, someone on the stream, what's going on? Thanks for taking the time. How are you?
The best achievement of humanity was
Having fun out there?
humanity itself. There was...
You are clear to resume pre-determined flight path. Imperial Flight Operations Bureau now standing
God,
up.
it's
more wisdom in a single nucleotide of his
love this
noble
game. Love.
DNA than in all
I love flying around the galaxy. It wasn't. I love doing this. Yeah, I'm repping the hashtag. Repping the hashtag DTRA.
That same wisdom still guides us.
Yeah, but
We need new
jump
dusty
it.
documents to assert our right. We
Jump into this
are
system.
human, born to rule.
Yeah.
The universe awaits the firm hand of our governor.
Nope.
Emperor Trascan Duval II. Undelivered draft speech, written immediately before his sudden and unexplained death.
Frameshift drive charging.
There we go.
The Empire, while younger than the Federation, is easily the equal of its historic rival in terms of scale and resources. The key social distinction between the two powers is the slave...
3, 2, 1.
3 in the Empire is legal, a fact that has remained a source of controversy since its inception, both within the Empire and without. Some observers have pointed out, however, the conditions of those
Warning. Temperature critical.
levels of federal society are far worse than those experienced by imperial slaves. The popular image of the Empire is one of opulence, but while pomp and pageantry may be the norm in the core imperial systems, elsewhere in imperial space, one can find myriad examples of deprivation and squalor. Indeed, the Empire encompasses many striking contrasts. Sophisticated technology exists alongside an ancient Roman system of government, and the affluence of the core worlds depends on often unregulated slave labor in the wretched outer colonies. Ruthless industrial efficiency and low taxation has made the Empire rich and mighty. The hierarchy of imperial society is rigid, but a citizen can always rise through the ranks if he or she becomes wealthy enough and makes the right connections. Even a slave could, in theory, become a senator. The Empire. History. The Acheronid colony was founded. In the mid-23rd century, wealthy entrepreneur Marlene Duval was so frustrated with the federal government that she founded an independent colony of her own in the Acheronid system, chosen for its remoteness. When Marlene was killed shortly afterwards in a flyer accident, her brother Henson Duval took over as ruler. Henson Duval the Emperor. Duval immediately abolished the fledgling democracy that Marlene had set up.
Orbital flight engaged.
And in its place, he established a system modeled on ancient Rome. He was now emperor, and his closest allies were his senators. Any colonists who might have objected were forced into silent compliance with Duval's vision. Such were his wealth and power. It was also widely believed that Marlene Duval, like Remus in ancient Rome, had been killed by her own brother. Nobody dared to speak out. The Mudlark extinction. The colonists were aware. 6D had indigenous life. But at first, it wasn't appreciated that this included a sentient species, nicknamed the mudlarks after they were observed digging through riverbank mud in search of food. Although the mudlarks were at a pre-agricultural stage of development, they appear to have developed the beginnings of language. They also created crude forms in molded clay. No obvious practical...
Lakon Alpha Lima Delta. We hope you enjoy your stay at this terrestrial port, Commander. Request approved.
possibly indicating assets such as technology.
You are approved for automated docking.
The mudlarks proved fatally vulnerable to the bacteria carried by the colonists, and within a few decades of the colony's founding, the species was extinct. Rumours subsequently emerged that Henson Duval had purposefully removed all traces of the mudlarks, partly in fear of federal reprisals, and partly to ensure that his development plans would not be hindered by ecological constraints. The Federation attempted to reclaim Akana. When the federal government
detected.
rumours that Duval's colony had recklessly caused the destruction of a sentient indigenous species, they decided on military intervention. The Imperial ships beat back federal attackers, who were unable to establish a beachhead among the airless outer worlds.
Confirmed contact. Engaging docking restraints. We're pleased to have you, Commander.
And struggled to maintain supply lines so far from Earth. The Federal forces eventually fell back and entrenched in the Beta Hydri system. Skirmishes with Imperial ships continued for the next 50 years, but these were unable to prevent Duval from expanding the Empire to many other worlds. The Age of Expansion. After hostilities with the Federation ceased, the Empire entered a century of growth, annexing many new systems and persuading others to join. It spent the following 2 centuries consolidating its new territory, appointing colonial administrators from among the noble houses of Akana.
Incoming message.
The Empire. Society. An ancient Roman model. The Empire works on a clean system. Society is divided into tiers. Emperor, senators, patrons, clients, and then citizens, with slaves below these. Groups of patrons pledge their support to a given senator, offering military service, tax revenue, and the right to wield the patrons' votes in the Senate on their behalf. In return, the patrons are granted a measure of protection and material security, as well as having their interests represented in the Imperial Senate. Senators are responsible for deciding tax rates and welfare systems for their patrons, meaning that the lower a given senator's tax rates, the more patrons he is likely to attract. This is far from being a patron's only concern. Loyalty at the time, ideological compatibility, family connections, and discreet private deals can all play a part in deciding which senator to back. The system extends downward through the tiers in a similar fashion, with clients pledging themselves to given patrons, and citizens pledging themselves to given clients. The votes held by the patrons actually comprise the total votes of all the clients pledged to them. Similarly, the votes held by those clients comprise the total votes of their pledged citizens. Patrons are therefore capable of investing variable degrees of power in their chosen senators, with the result that some senators are more powerful than others. Senators are responsible for those below them, meaning that everyone has a form of social security, at least in theory. Indeed, many senators take pride in the security they offer their citizens. Some could have been
Ships attached. Clear for departure.
to drain material wealth from small independent worlds and pump it back into the capital economy, allowing them to reduce citizens' taxes and giving their own popularity a considerable boost. Patrons are free to withdraw their patronage from their
Friendship drive charging.
chosen senator, placing the onus on the senator
3, 2, 1. Engage.
to represent them satisfactorily or face a loss of voting power. Rigid stratification. The division between social classes is formal, unambiguous, and strict. But there is a clear path to advancement. A person can pay a fee and petition for admittance to the rank above. In this way, slaves can become citizens too. The law is not the same for all. Senators have a responsibility to enforce the law, and they must obey the Emperor's decree, but are otherwise above the law. A senator can even carry out executions personally, with little, if any, fear of consequences. The Empire. Military. The Imperial Navy. Maintaining a modernized navy has always been a top priority for the Empire. The ever-present threat posed by the Federation has driven previous emperors to empty the coffers again and again, for fear of being outstripped in the arms race. More recently, funding has come from wealthy individual senators, many of whom are all too eager to gain influence within the Navy. Indeed, it has been claimed that devastating planetary mining has been carried out in order to further this cause. The Facisi system is arguably the most significant Imperial naval base. Many officers are housed on the world of Topaz, while Peter's Rec is home to the training centers. As well as the battle fleets, the Imperial Navy maintains a subdivision dedicated to exploring the fringes of known space. The Emperor's Own. Genetic engineering is not officially tolerated in the Empire, but it does sometimes take place. One notable example is the Emperor's Own, a group of genetically engineered super soldiers deployed during the shock invasion of Mansfield Colony in the Leadless system in 2959. They proved brutally efficient, overrunning the Federal defenses in a mere 2 hours and inflicting a rare defeat upon a Federal Gurkha regiment. The Empire. Culture and values. The human body represents perfection. This belief, once held with mere religious intensity, still forms the bedrock of the Empire's culture and morals. Genetic modification is frowned upon, but a degree of genetic correction is known to take place, supposedly to correct defects such as vulnerability to certain diseases. The belief in the sanctity of the human body originates with the first emperor, Henson de Val. While he did not claim to be literally descended from the gods, in the manner of Roman emperors of old, he declared that his own image was the paradigm to which others ought to aspire. Households across the empire were required to display a statue or bust of the emperor in a place of honor. Imperial citizens are therefore expected to shun habits that corrupt or defile the human body, such as excessive indulgence in narcotics. The ownership of slaves, by contrast, is tolerated in the same way that the ownership of any beautiful work of art is tolerated. Mistreatment of slaves is thus akin to one's own body in a peak condition and adorning it with jewels and expensive clothes is not bad.
Lincoln Alpha Lima Delta.
The ginger is in here. Look out.
How's it going, lads?
What's happening, brother?
How goes the war?
Oh, I would never clue because I'm just doing my trucking. I'm a trucker, that's it. That's all I'm doing.
The Emperor's word is supreme. The Emperor's
I stay out of it.
is decided by the Senate.
Oh, it's that,
There's
you know.
fucking amazing missions
Such a strong
in the middle of
power
this war.
that the Imperial throne has only ever been
Even doing battle weapons and personal weapons, all that shit for like 20 mil and whatnot.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Oh, I said, I just do the pure transport missions, you know what I mean? So, I mean, at the moment, I'm transporting.
5,000 meters from touchdown.
My next major drop-off is 66 units of
is
tea.
sometimes described as the Empire's first female
Ah.
I'm guessing that I'm flying that over to England for you.
was a democracy.
Yeah, hopefully. I'll see you in Seoul in 10 minutes.
Yep,
Make
Seoul
sure you bring
10
the good
minutes.
over, not the shit
Is
over.
a constant throughout all tiers of
I'll bring over the
Imperial
English
society.
breakfast.
Honor can be lost through various
Yeah, get used to that breakfast. Let's fucking do this.
including
Yep.
leaving
Oh,
tax
God, man.
unpaid, failing to
Oh,
respect a
fuck.
superior, providing independent, break taking a solemn vow.
Wait, did you say
conducting
60 units?
combat
How much are you
with
getting for the
powerful
T?
weapons Such as nerve
hang on,
and
let me see.
defiling one's own body.
66 units of T. I'm getting
Slavery is acceptable,
744,000 credits.
Be well treated. In the
What are you
Empire,
flying?
It is not uncommon
I'm flying the
for
Type
poor
6.
and disenfranchised to sign up for
Type 6.
Touchdown confirmed. Commence system
Okay,
shutdown.
okay.
I said saving up for a Type 9. I'm going to skip
Would
the
you
Type.
like a little help getting into a Type 9?
Oh yes, please. Well, I'm almost there. You know what I mean? Like, I've just got about give me another 8 million, 10 million bucks, and yeah, I'll be able to
Alright,
get
if we're
a.
still in a... We should still be in a war, because we can't... If FDev didn't lie, we should be in a war for the next 6 days, which means the Owl in Tethys is going to be wanting a fucking ton of weapons
also forced into slavery against their will.
for the duration of that time. Like yesterday, I got, with Hub's help, we got Titan into a fucking Type 10 yesterday.
Oh fuck
And he was in like some tiny, something small. We got him a Type 9, and then he got into a Type 10.
Yeah.
So, what's what wing missions we got? Oh,
Slaves may
fucking...
also be taken prisoner following
How's this sound?
abducted from their
Oh,
home, or even
it's gonna
captured
suck a little bit because it's a land
while
one.
trading
Do you have
slaves is
Horizons?
lawful everywhere.
Yeah, I do, but I don't have the
Except
vehicle hangar. Let me just.
Detach complete. Departure authorized.
Can I get a wing invite?
Yep. Hang on a
without the
second.
blessing of the senator.
Alright, let me just fucking jump into my Type 9.
The Empire. Diplomatic relations. The Federation. Resentment of the Federation runs deep in the Empire. The superpower is remembered as an oppressive, interfering force that hypocritically
wing
avoids
across.
inflicting the slightest harm on non-human life, but thinks nothing of forcibly imposing its values on its fellow humans, and lacking the freedoms and social customs that the Empire values so dearly. While open hostility has frequently been the case in the past, the current situation is one of grudging coexistence, beneath which mistrust simmers. Despite this antipathy, the Empire cooperated with the Federation in a series of joint initiatives against the Thargoids in
Alright,
the
there you go.
Empire.
I shared a mission with you. We'll fucking
3300s.
get you that last
The
little
Alliance.
bit of money you need.
When the Alliance was founded in 3230, following a bitter conflict with the Empire and the
Fantastic.
Federation,
Alright.
multiple systems defected to it from
Alright, what
both
with the system to pick up
superpowers.
landmines,
To the
you reckon?
surprise of many, the Empire took very little
Sorry?
further retributive
What system
action,
will I-
well,
partly because of the ill health
that's
of
what
the
I'm looking
Emperor
up
at
right
the
now. I'm
time,
just gonna figure
and
it out.
partly
There's
due
a
to a belief that the defecting systems would
freaking-
return to their natural home sooner or later.
You know what? Let's just check
The
this out.
Empire's
Drive charging.
current attitude to the Alliance is one of studied contempt. To recognize it as a threat would be too much like showing respect. Internal politics.
Speed restrictions are now lifted.
Unsurprisingly for a society so concerned with rank and influence, the Empire contains a multitude of feuding power blocks. In particular, there is a good deal of balance between the various
Alright, the
feudal
nearest
houses,
place
whose values range from
is...
hardcore traditionalists
Oh, sweet.
to staunch reformist. The Imperial Senate is no longer as overshadowed by the Emperor as it once was,
It-
and has gained sufficient
Carabal
strength to act as a counterbalance to the Emperor's
At
political will.
the Hutchinson
The
base.
individual character of the Emperor still determines the Empire's overall direction, however, and the suggestion that the Empire should evolve out of its old ways has proven deeply divisive.
Okay.
The Federation. Introduction. For I dipped into the future, far as human eye could see, saw the vision of the world, and all the wonder that would be. Saw the heavens fill with commerce, argosies
'cause I got a
of
few-
magic sails, pilots of the purple twilight.
Story missions
Wait,
to
you
do.
clear?
I got 4 more
Oh,
story
story
missions
missions.
left. Yeah, I got 4 more story missions left, and as soon as I get those done, yeah, I'll jump over to that system and start collecting landmines and bring them over.
Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Can you get things done I can crack on this?
1835.
Hopefully by the time you get out here, it should be at least either quarter of the way, if not
To attempt
done.
the impossible task of summing up the Federation.
Yeah, this will be 2 jumps for 2 runs for me in a Type 9.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's like 14. The great thing about the Type 9 is, depending on how you play it, like how you fly, you can pull some really awesome shit. Like anything under 1,400, 1,400, you're laughing. Like it's nothing. It's chump
Yeah, I
change
can
to
imagine,
get
yeah.
that.
Yeah, like I say, pretty much all I need is, just give me a docking computer, shield generator, and the planetary approach system, and then the rest is just cargo racks.
Yeah, I mean the cargo racks. Because Titan and Huck, they just got rid of all of their shields, everything, fuel scoops, the lot. I like to run my Type 9 a little more conservative. I have a fuel scoop on it, and have shields on it. And I still have 710 cargo on it. It's like crazy.
Docking request granted.
Isaac Geller, Federation President.
Yeah, I guess what it says, I'm just going to do
2862.
Give me a docking computer and a shield generator, and the rest is
the oldest of the galaxy's 3
and the rest will be cargo racks.
A vast geopolitical entity reaching out from the core
And that's how I run. Like, it's how I set up a Type 6. It's how I set up all my ships. Is just
crushing
docking computer
and everything in between.
Shield generator, cargo racks. That's it.
Yeah, no, actually, no. I don't know why. I think I had the reason I had a fuel scoop on my Type 9 is because the last time I was doing this with Paddle, the wing missions had just come out, and we had completely drained, like, I think 40 to 80 light years worth of systems from all of their palladium. Well, we had, alright, so my thing's called Battle Cattle 03.
Yeah.
There were 12 of us in Type 9s, all called Battle Cattle, all doing this in an agriculture system. Well, it was like 40 fucking mil for a Palladium mission.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we were like, fuck yeah, let's jump on that.
Too much power. Politicians are often corrupt. And a simple
So it was...
Oh, I can't argue with that,
Yeah,
man.
it was-
Wow.
Yeah, I know, you can't argue with that. 40 mil, that's like, 2 of those and you're like buying a fucking
2 of those, and
shit.
they got a brand new Type 9. Fuck yeah.
Exactly.
After the devastation of World War III, the United
I remember
States
the
of
days I was in a
America
fucking hauler carting Imperial slaves because I was trying to make ends,
Over the
Yeah, exactly.
following
It's just the way
years,
it always
gradually
goes,
brought
man.
the other nations of the world under its aegis. Called at first,
And then everyone's like, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do this. I was looking at passenger missions, I couldn't afford a fucking Dolphin. It was, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
Humanity reached for the stars. When faster than
I
light
need to talk to
travel
Huck,
became a
because
reality in the
Huck's got
22nd
this
century,
passenger mission run that's like
several
12 minutes,
corporations
and you
Yeah.
make some serious money on
to
it.
establish the
Oh, that
first
sounds like a
human
plan.
colony in a new star system.
Well,
Tau
yeah, I
Ceti
mean, last
was the
night I
first
was gonna
system
just
to be colonized,
bite the
followed
bullet and
by
get a cutter, but instead I got myself a
Beta
Type 10 to
Hydra
help out with
and
combat, a
Voltaire.
missile boat, basically.
In their wake, there
Type
followed
10
a
has got
wild scramble of
these
pioneering
9 hard
expeditions
points
and
for
colonial
weapons,
adventures.
Yeah.
and you can just fit them all out with fucking missiles. And I was just joking around with Titan yesterday, and he did that. And we went into a combat zone, and things were just falling off the map.
Repeated refusal to limit the damage they were inflicting on the
Yeah,
alien
just that bad.
ecosystem. Earth
Oh,
dispatched
it's
a
brutal,
fleet with
absolutely
orders to
brutal.
reverse
It's 9 fucking lots of, just 9 payloads of rockets. And it's just unengineered because he doesn't have engineers or anything.
A military
Yeah.
stalemate
And these
led to
combat
grudging
zones, we've got
compromise,
engineers.
and the Federal Accord resulted, granting the
shit,
system
paper
rights.
Alright, sorry about that. Network error.
There you are.
Gave
Yeah,
corporations
network error. I
preferential
don't know what happened, but yeah.
Starting in 2621, the numerous corporations subjected the federal government to over a century of unrelenting pressure. They demanded the right to buy up underexploited colonial land.
But yeah, Paddle's worrying about the system because I don't know if you heard about the Germans. The Germans.
The Germans.
Yeah, so Germans are just being assholes right now. Like, These guys, there's 5 of them, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They've allied with 2 factions in the same system.
Fuck, how did they manage that?
They could tap those resources.
So what they've done is they went after Blue Major, and we fucked Blue Major. Now Blue Major's gone from being in a war with us into a war with another faction in the system, and they're an outbreak. So it's kind of like they're a lost cause right now.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Far less than the expected sum.
Alright.
If we live and work out at Tethys,
the defiant resettlement of the entire colony.
Like the shit we'll be able to do is we're going to be in a position where we can keep our base and our guys in an infinite state of investment and civil liberty, which basically keeps them happy. Which I think, I don't know, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think if you keep them in civil liberty, I think it makes it easier to hit expansion.
Yeah, I think it would be, yeah.
The Federation's legislative body.
But yeah, so what they've done with that is we've got 6 of the factions. So I think every single faction pretty much in the system is in a war right now. We've got another group called Saluru, who I think have just expanded into Tethys, who are in a war with another group.
Great.
And I was kind of like crunching the stats last night, and I came up with like 3 scenarios, like how it's going to go down. Because I'm worried we're going to end up in another war, depending on how these next couple of days go. Because what we want to do is we want to expand out of Tethys, out of Mongo, into another system, and then expand out of that one. I guess it's the whole point of it.
Constitutional rights obtained.
And then we'll be able to, have
all individuals are enshrined in the Constitution.
Have like home systems and shit where we can basically just go and have allied fucking like 40 million missions where you can go and buy cutters, decent shit.
Ban on slavery within the Federation.
Oh, I said I'm going to be quite happy with just having a Type 9, you know.
Oh, I don't blame you. I love the Type 9. It's my favorite ship. I'm like you. I like doing the carting and the cargo and the... I like, I kind of like refer to it as like being a badger. Not a badger. It's a badger. Care bearer or a badger. You just do the cargo, do the mining, do the combat. I'm shit at. I'm terrible.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've engineered my ships. I've got engineers. I've thrown fucking hours and hours into getting them. I even went and got the fucking pay night for that fucking Celine G. And I'm not good at it.
Competition between corporations for Congress.
They got like fucking Huck and Paddle, Huck and his Spur de Lance, fucking hunting down ships. He's hunting down ships at fucking like practically light speed in these fucking sectors.
Yeah, I know.
Whilst I'm like sitting there trying to keep up, because like what you do is you knock the drives off, and then once you knock the drives out of a ship, they just start fucking floating. Well, if they're fucking boosting and you knock the drives out, they just spin like a fucking comet through the system. I'm like struggling. I'm going like 300 kilometers trying to catch up to this thing in my fucking Corvette, and there just comes Huck fucking out of nowhere like a fucking black lightning. Like zoom. Just cracks the fucker in the side and pops him. I'm like, well, shit, maybe I need one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Charted to produce centralized fleets, which made for a far more efficient system.
But I do wish they had like a bigger. I'm not gonna lie, I do wish they had a bigger hauler ship.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, especially you can like switch the Type 10 into it maybe. Like,
well, the Type 10 isn't actually the next step.
But the Academy
for hauling. I've got a Type 10. I had it kitted out for hauling, and I think I got to like 590 something cargo space, which is fucking 200 less than Type 8.
What the fuck? What?
Type 9, sorry, yeah. The Type 10 is not intended for hauling, which, considering how you go Type 7, Type 6, 7, 8, or 9, or whatever, like, you think, well, why, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm sort of thinking maybe we should, talk to Frontier and ask why haven't they brought out a Type 8, We go 6, 7, 9.
champion heavy cuts of the Navy budget
Type
in
10 is a Thargoid. It's like a Thargoid
Thargoid
station,
fighter,
basically.
yeah.
Like,
President Varian
yeah,
Scott
it's just
came to
a
power in
fucking
31
huge ass hull tank with like
Scott
9
talked up
payloads
the
on it.
Thargoid threat. Again, increasing funding
It's just,
to the
I guess,
Navy
it's just
and
supposed to have
removing the
ridiculous
requirements for
mass.
military actions to be approved by congressional vote. Land forces. In addition to the rank and file,
If you want to go further than a Type 9, I think the next step is actually the Imperial Cutter.
Yeah. Alright.
Yeah, I think that's the one that has...
divisions, such as the Gurkha Regiment, who have served since the days of Earth. Keeping up long-standing
Are you in the Discord?
traditions such as this.
No, I didn't download it onto my phone.
Alright. I was going to say, I'd send you the landmines thing. But, I mean, you can see where I'm at.
You have to
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
The Federation has no room for freeloaders. It has nurtured the core frontier values of self-reliance and entrepreneurship since
No.
its inception,
Did I
and
fucking
respects
lose
the
that last night? I did. God damn it.
This insistence upon paying your way and pulling your weight also applied, notoriously, to the process whereby new colonies were established. Until a given colony was able to fulfill
1% away from ranking up
set
on
down for it by the Federation,
in my trade.
it could only ever be a dependency with
Oh, that's
no voice
great.
of its own.
I love that. Was the
Given
first
that
one
the
I eliteed.
Federation's
That is the
assigned
only one I
goals
have
vary
eliteed.
wildly from one
Yeah,
colony to the next.
I said I can't wait to be elite because all of a sudden I'm going straight to fucking Founders World.
Oh
God, yeah, and you get fucking like 20% off or whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that, 10% cheaper or something like that. Yeah.
By the promise of being recognized as sovereign,
And everything's there, and I reckon the missions will be fucking really good to do as well. Like, yeah.
The missions? You know what? I don't actually think the Founders World's really that great for missions. It's good for doing like
the Federation has never forgotten the role
because it's I think it's the only place you can do Guardian tech.
Corporations enjoy substantial freedom and influence under the Federation.
I mean, if you're doing cargo runs, not exactly the best
they are the powers
place to go for that. How long have you been playing Elite?
I got it last year when it came out on PS4.
And it is common for successive generations of a given family to serve the same corporation.
So, the way, I don't know if you know how it works is,
but respect non-human
the way to
life.
get like the really good missions is you find a faction, you align with them,
views on the primacy of humanity.
I'll be totally honest, I know Paddle's gonna hate me for saying this, but if they're in war, you get some of the best fucking missions.
Human life with care. The Empire typically
especially if
takes a
you can
more
get them in
human-centric
like a
approach.
state of
This
war
attitude
with
has allowed the Empire to poach several developing Federation colonies who felt
if you get them into a state of war with investment,
by ecological regulations.
because what that means is they have more money to throw around, which means you get like, oh shit, X amount of battle weapons here for like 20 million.
Citizens actively embrace corporate culture, expressing their
Which
identity
is,
through brand choices
awesome.
and media consumption.
Because Paddle was saying last night, he's like, oh, you guys don't really do missions.
The Empire. In
These missions are how we're gonna get people like fucking Titan and stuff into these bigger ships.
On Achenar 6D, chosen for its remoteness.
Which is
the original intent
what happened
was
last
to live
night,
free from
was,
interference.
yesterday, we were just
Autocrat Henson Duval rapidly
absolutely
took control of
killing
the
it.
colony
Yeah.
and had himself
Like I
proclaimed
said, it's always going to be the dream to get a bigger ship, but I think I'll be happy with a Type 9 and just
partly
leave it
due
at
to
that.
the nascent empire's insistence on independence.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But faced
The
a harder fight than
Type
they
9
had
is going to be
expected.
great, and then it'll be coming down to like,
Over the
this is
next
how I see it
50
though, like,
years,
you know, these
the
guys are going to
Empire
need
expanded
fucking,
to many other worlds.
they're going to need people doing the big,
relationship with the
all the
Empire
missions and
is
shit
one of
whilst they're out doing
entrenched
cargo runs. No,
stemming
cargo
from
runs whilst they're out doing
irreconcilable
these conflict
ideological
zones.
differences. Mollified
Yeah, and they could be you and me. They could be you and me in
like,
Type 9.
territories, and thus act as
exactly,
a
I've been throwing these guys like
outright
close to, I think we did 200 million yesterday.
are usually conducted through
Yeah, 200, imagine that, 200 million, and like,
the Alliance.
you've got a group of people who are like dedicated cargo runners who are doing all these wing missions for your guys,
leading to a
you know,
citizen rebellion. Several
it's helpful because the rebuys on some of these ships, like fucking Paddle's rebuy is
the Empire was too far away to
59 million.
Effectively, whereas the Federation was hampered by
The
unexpected
rebuy on my ship is Type 6, but yeah, 300,000 on the Type 6. Like I put this one up to the absolute maximum, like A grade, everything. You know, it's fantastic. What I've done with this ship, I love it.
Others defected from the Federation or Empire. In order to keep more worlds from defecting, the Federation was forced to reform the process, whereby colonies could achieve full federal membership. So far, it has only managed to slow the loss of worlds to the Alliance, and has yet to tempt any back. The Alliance. Introduction. Rise, like lions after slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth, like dew which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. Percy Bysshe Shelley, The Mask of Anarchy, 1819.
I've read your speech a dozen times, Nick. We can't use it. Sure, we could sound off about
I don't have a planetary approach suite on my ship.
And the dignity of the
You should if you have Horizons. It should come standard like every...
I think I did something dumb, and I think I don't have one.
Oh no.
Did I take it off? I bet I fucking took it off, didn't I?
Oh no.
A shiny wrapper. It's not enough. If we're going to make the Alliance of Independent Systems happen, we need more than tongue-thumping speeches from a war hero. We need to show our people that the damn thing can work.
So you didn't think you had to, you know, land on a planet anymore?
Yes, I fucking pulled it off. I must have.
Oh no. You know.
I did that. That was dumb as fuck.
That's rather silly.
So dry, you don't need to believe in it. The people are tired and heartsick.
Station here.
Lakon, Alpha Lima Delta. Station services are on standby for your arrival, Commander. Good to have you. Authorization clear. You are go
too many times by both sides. So let's...
Acknowledged, Commander. Clear for assisted docking.
Not trying to sell them anymore. It's time to wake up.
Private communique from Meredith Argent to Mick Turner, founders of the Alliance. The Alliance is the youngest of the galaxy's 3 superpowers, and is perhaps best understood in terms of what it chooses not to be. It rejects both the extreme capitalism of the Federation and the rigid hierarchy of the Empire, choosing instead a third way, a voluntary association for mutual benefit.
Have you tried doing passenger missions yet?
No. Maybe I
from external threats and internal...
I don't know, it just seemed like too much of sort of... Well, I did when I first started, but it was sort of like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You know, and I think I just sort of gave it away at that point. And I went, okay, no, that's it, alright. Cargo racks back on because I was in the Type 6, and I put the cabins in and all that stuff, and I've gone, and I've, done this. Alright, this is going great. Easy money. No, it was actually, at the start, it was absolutely painful, so I was going, no, I'm not trying that ever again. So I've just gone back to just being a pure straight-up trucker.
The Alliance. History. Alioth was colonized.
So you... I don't know if it's your connection or if it's my connection. Are you breaking up a lot there?
Oh shit, sorry.
You have it.
That early surveyors considered
you have it. Oh,
El Dorado.
fuck.
When the Federation established its first colony on Alioth 5B,
you're having a lot of issue with the distance on the passenger missions or something?
Yeah, and it was sort of... Alright, first you do this, then you do that, and then, you do... Swing over there, and...
you
it just
fly to here, you fly to there, and you fuck around and all this...
all this bullshit. Yeah. And yeah, it just sort of, it was very, very tedious, and so I was just going, alright, not doing that ever again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that one. It does get very tedious.
Escalated into an armed conflict, prompting the Empire to dispatch a military force, ostensibly for the colonists' protection.
Like I had this one before they changed the algorithm in the game. Because I love doing that. They had it set up so the distance of light years you travel correlates to the money you make. So you'd be doing like these crazy fucking missions. Like I had this place called Brutus where I was going out and I was doing what was I doing? I was doing like
this marked the first
an hour in which flight from the star to the station because there was no way to get there. So I was in fucking Super Cruise for an hour all the way to the station.
The Federation set out to undermine
but I was
Imperial
making like 50, 60 mil
exploiting local resentment
an hour, just
they covertly supported acts of protest and petty battles.
I'd sit there, I fucking line my fucking self up, and then just fucking sit back and watch it.
Followed,
and it was at such a point, like, you know, an hour in, you know, the NPCs jump in at the start. So if you don't get interdicted straight at the start, and you get about 3 minutes in, they can't catch you.
Yeah.
Protracted and degrading series
of
so I'm in like Beluga doing these fucking crazy missions.
Imperial and
they were just boring as fuck.
The system
incoming mission critical message.
Made an abortive attempt to establish its independence in 2617, resulting in a short-lived cooperation between the Empire and the Federation, neither of which were willing to allow this. The Revolution. In the early 4th millennium, both the Federation and the Empire had a presence in the Alliance system. Fruitcake, now known as Gordon World, was a federal protectorate, while the Empire had earlier conducted terraforming experiments on the world of New California, and also held gas mining platforms in the system. The federal corporations supplying New California had raised the prices of their goods several times in the previous years, and when they imposed yet another price hike, the planet's inhabitants revolted. In the insurrection that followed, rebels commandeered any available ships and headed out to the gas mining platforms, where they attacked the outposts' corporate employees. Alarmed, the Empire and the Federation dispatched ships to put down the rebellion, but were beaten back by a hastily assembled force made up of fighters from Alioth and, crucially, volunteers from nearby independent systems. Neither the Empire nor the Federation were able to gain a foothold, and eventually both forces had to withdraw. The Empire faced too many logistical problems fighting so far from home, while the Federation's efforts were undermined by public sympathy for the rebels. An alliance was brokered. The victory in Alioth had proven that independent systems working together could hold their own against the superpowers. It fell to pilot Mick Turner and scientist Meredith Argent to ride the wave of public spirit and propose a permanent alliance, under whose aegis independent systems could enjoy freedom from imperial and federal interference. The alliance was founded in 3230. And in the next 2 decades, it expanded its membership to more than 20 systems, some defecting from the Federation and the Empire, others pledging as independents. The Alliance. Society. Many worlds, few rules, no overlords. The Alliance's Articles of Membership are designed to unite the member systems with strong, straightforward bonds that allow as much self-determination as possible. Membership guarantees mutual prosperity through guaranteed free trade and security through the Alliance Defense Force, while leaving much of the business of government to the individual members. The Alliance Assembly acts as a central arbitration committee, helping to settle disputes between member systems. It also oversees formal arrangements between members, such as treaties, research goals, and mutually agreed policies. As no one system can be allowed to carry more weight than another, the assembly frequently finds itself bogged down in endless back and forth negotiations.
Or eat, or whatever. That's
Getting them to agree on anything is a task often compared to herding linglands, notoriously ill-tempered carnivores from the Acheron system.
When we finally picked Indian, and your dad thought we were going to tie.
Who remain uninvolved.
Hey, Huck, what's going on, bro?
Handle most of the day-to-day administrative work that enables the Alliance to function. Conditional autonomy for member systems.
You know, all of a sudden, I thought we were going to tie.
What the hell? I've got a planetary approach suite. Why am I not able to?
Alliance members are required to subscribe to and uphold a code of human rights, and to have a democratically elected government.
Lincoln Alpha Lima Delta. We've prepared a landing pad for your arrival, Commander. Welcome to our station. Request cleared for landing on docking bay 07. Automated docking approved. You may now hand over control.
And residents within any other member state. Furthermore, all member systems are obliged to give immediate military assistance to any fellow member when necessary. The Alliance. Military. The Alliance Defense Force. While each Alliance member system maintains its own navy, all members are required to commit ships and crew to the Alliance Defense Force. This rapid response group usually remains within Alliance space, and its tasks vary from providing a beleaguered system with military assistance
Scan detected.
to evacuating settlements hit by natural disaster. A 6-member Council of Admirals oversees the Alliance Defense Force. It is accountable to the Assembly, but does not require its approval before
How'd you guys make out last night, Huck?
freedom of
Did you
decision
leave before I did?
prevents urgent military action being delayed by tedious debate. The Alliance, culture,
Yeah, it's not
and
pretty
values.
late trying to figure out the
Cooperation,
stupid
mutual
faction
aid,
stuff they got going
tolerance.
on now.
Touchdown confirmed. Clear to disembark. Enjoy your visit, Commander.
Respect. The values that bind
Yeah,
the
actually, I
Alliance
was trying to
systems
find that fucking
also hold
BGS
true
thing,
on
'cause
an interpersonal
they have an
level.
updated video
Just as the different worlds of the Alliance
that
formally
tells you all
recognize
about
one
the
another's
stuff that they're
legitimacy
doing
and
now.
value, individuals are generally reluctant to show prejudice against
And that's how I
others,
figured out
and
last
band
night that
together
it's gonna
to help
last
those in
like a
genuine
total
need.
fucking 7 days. You
Diversity
can't
is
cancel a
strength.
war out anytime
Members
sooner.
of the Alliance are not obliged to conform to what they consider the corporate
Which is kind of
saturation
annoying
of
because it means we
federal
have to
culture,
dominate like
or the status of
6
their
out,
posturing
you know,
of the Imperials.
4 out of
Individual
6, 7
systems
days.
are encouraged to preserve and celebrate their own cultural identities.
I'm
This
doing
approach results in a rich variety
We're trying
of
to do a
artistic,
hauling mission, but for some
literary,
reason
and
my
dramatic
orbital
output.
approach suite is not working.
Free to speak, free to protest. One curious cultural constant across the Alliance member systems
I got a
is
wing
the way the
mission up,
citizens indulge
and
their
I'm
freedom
trying to
to
help
complain. They can criticize their governments without fear
Bulldog
of
here get
repression,
his
and they frequently do so. Previous
pipeline.
experience of exploitation has left many citizens cynical, but possessed of a certain mordant humor and a willingness to take life as it comes.
Wait, is that?
The Alliance. Diplomatic relations. The Federation. Alliance attitudes to the Federation vary sharply, depending on whether one is asking about the Federation's government or its citizenry. The government is seen as a hidebound relic, unable to arrest its slow decline into decadence. But the general populace are much more compassionately viewed. An Alliance citizen, proud of his or her own emancipation, is likely to have a rather condescending view of a federal citizen. They are characterized as ignorant dupes, kept satiated by mass-market entertainment and branded consumer goods. This is not seen as their fault, however. On the contrary, it is widely held that the Federation and the corporate barons deliberately keep the people in a servile state. The Alliance is more interested in enticing federal systems
Is
to
that
join
is
its
that a
union,
wing mission you got there?
thereby winning the moral war, than in exacting vengeance for the wrongs of the past.
I have
There has been too much violence already. The Empire. To the Alliance, the Empire
Incoming mission critical message.
I appreciate it.
is anathema. With its monolithic culture, veneration of
Landing gear retracted.
Ship restraints withdrawn. Watch for oncoming traffic when
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, why does it start with decline? You know,
disdain for human rights and tolerance of slavery. It could not be further
like
from
you
the
start with
Alliance's
accept.
values
Like
of
you think
mutual
about it.
respect and freedom from exploitation. Yet, for all this, many Alliance members would rather...
It'd be nice if they had, like, autos and reassurance.
The common belief is that the Federation will always pretend to be something it is not. At least with the Empire, you know what you're dealing with. Most Alliance citizens view the emergence of a progressive movement within the Empire with cynicism. Everyone knows that the Empire is incapable of changing its ways. The whole Imperial social model is an imitation of the past.
Frameshift drive charging.
But some in the Alliance
heading down to
nevertheless
Carabel
welcome
now.
the ascension of the first female Emperor. The edifice may not be about to crumble.
You are clear of the station. Until next time, Commander.
4, 3, 2, 1.
There it is. That should be a
But
plaster.
such a profound change cannot be ignored. The Thargoids.
Why not?
Really?
Thargoid
Okay,
Really?
okay. This is a...
The Thargoids are a non-human race with a history of hostility towards humanity.
Is he allergic
The
to
first
soap?
recorded encounter with a Thargoid ship took place in 2849.
Interesting, taking him and just wiping him on a petri dish and letting it sit for a couple of days.
In the years that followed, contact with lone Thargoid vessels was intermittently reported.
What the
Humanity
fuck?
clashed with the Thargoids in the 32nd century, but details of the conflict
That's kind of fucking gross, I'm not gonna lie.
remained scarce for many years, and it proved difficult to differentiate authentic accounts of Thargoid.
Wait, who smells like loose change and
from the
vinegar?
sensationalist media stories of the time. The discovery of abandoned
Yeah, that
intergalactic
does.
navies
Water, salt, and like blood.
Damage.
Algiers in 3303 did much to dispel the fog, however. The INRA, a joint federal imperial initiative established in 3193, was responsible for researching
You know, you're so
and
diplomatic.
developing technologies to counter their aggression. But the organization's lack of accountability meant that the details of its research did not come to light until years after.
No, seriously, right? My now wife, she was with the guy for 4 years, right? And he was fucking disgusting. And I'm like, what the fuck were you doing? She's like, yeah, he gave me a couple UTIs from it. I'm like, nope, I would have taken a fucking sanding disc with a fucking sponge on the edge, and I would have had that fucker's crack gleaming fucking gold when I'm done.
The Thargoids Society. The INRA discovered that Thargoid society categories: queens, princesses.
You know, we're having some problem with this new antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Just wondering if we can find the cause of the fucking problem. Oh, look, it's you, you dirty cunt. Go wash.
Yeah.
Though it may be that some of the larger observed groups are in fact multiple overlapping hives.
Fucking today I'm here to give a presentation. This shit eats cancer. It's so fucking filthy.
While the typical drug
It cleans up oil spills.
rudimentary level of intelligence. Existing evidence suggests that queens have extremely long lifespans, living for hundreds
It does feel
or
good.
even thousands of years. The variable size of queens' neurocraniums suggests this might be an indicator of age. Little is known about the precise nature of Thargoid reproduction, but it is likely that queens can reproduce both sexually, with other queens, and asexually. It is thought that the latter method produces drones, while the former produces a new queen. Analysis of Thargoid specimens led some INRA
See, I
researchers
actually
to believe
lost,
that a new queen, or
in my
princess,
20s I lost
becomes
all
a
body
full
odor.
only one to
Because
produce drones of its own.
my grandfather
Significantly,
put Clorox
queens
in
are
the
believed
well.
to be single-sex.
This is like
The Thargoid's
before they
ability to
clocked that he had
reproduce
dementia.
asexually means that
So
their
he went and
populations can
tipped a
expand
shit ton of
incredibly
Clorox down the well.
But it is thought
And
that they
I'm like,
deliberately
God,
restrict the
the kitchen
size of the
fucking smells
populace
of bleach up
so
here.
as to not to
I'm just
deplete
gonna head
all
down and
available
take a shower. So I head down and I take
There
a
is
fucking shower. I'm like,
evidence
whew,
to suggest that this is
smells of
sometimes
bleach down here. Well, I
by
better be
cunning
quick.
older drones.
So I fucking have a shower and I come out and like the bleach smell lingers and lingers. I'm like, oh god damn. About an hour or two later, I finally fucking,
Indeed,
stops. And I'm like,
queen appears to give
I'm
no
like
more
twigged. I'm like, hold on,
flexibility
what the
to
fuck did I just shower in
drones.
bleach? Like I was like saying to my grandma, did I just shower in bleach? She's like, oh yeah, he just sterilized the well. I'm like,
The belief that Thargoids were
What?
capable of some form of extrasensory communication was often cited in the early years of human-Thargoid interaction.
Yeah, but I mean, bleach will degrade after like an hour to 2 hours, depending on like the strength of it.
Professor Yuri Ansel,
but fuck, it's not good.
Theorized that
so yeah, I've actually like just like recently started getting body odor back. That's how fucking bad it was. Like, it just killed all the bacteria off my body.
Studies of battlefield footage certainly suggest some kind of near instantaneous communication among Thargoids, and the presence of low-level radio waves in areas occupied by Thargoids indicates that they do indeed communicate via short-range electronic signals. Professor Anslow went on to claim that a queen could effectively...
I mean, do you guys have a well?
Her contemporaries were skeptical, dismissing the assertion as baseless. Professor Ishmael Palin, one of the galaxy's foremost experts...
But you know, you actually could do that. You could accidentally, like, drop some bleach on his fucking, like, pants or something and be like, oh shit, you gotta go wash that off. Like, you're gonna have to go take a shower. This stuff's poisonous, whatever. Fucking just watch you freak out.
They've also been observed.
He does it to me like every fucking day. What's going on?
Professor Albert Tesra,
to the point where you just take fucking tap water and you drop it on him and he goes and takes a shower out of habit. That's what you want.
Yeah, pretty much.
Studied in the audio logs and suggested that the sounds probably represent some kind of language.
Come on, Hutchison Base.
The repetition of certain sound combinations. It is unclear why the Thargoids would sometimes choose to communicate with each other vocally, given their capacity for extrasensory communication. Professor Anslow suggested that the sounds could be designed to intimidate enemies or opponents, noting that Thargoids often produce them prior to combat. Thargoid ships have been observed emitting a complex array of sounds.
About a minute out from Hutchison Base.
Subtly changing colour. The exact meaning of these behaviours has not been determined, but they appear to correspond to different emotional states. What is not known is if these sounds are produced by the pilot and amplified by the ship, or emitted by the ship itself. If the sounds originate with the pilot, it would suggest some kind of physiological connection between
you want to see how much I love the battle cat?
Given the sophistication of Thargoid bioengineering, however, it is possible that the sounds come from the ship itself, and that Thargoid ships are able to feel and communicate to a limited degree. The hulls of Thargoid ships are typically emblazoned with one of several symbols, the meaning of which is unknown. Some have theorized that they could denote membership of a particular familial group, or possibly be an indicator of rank. For biological information, but Thargoid chemistry is based on ammonia rather than water. Consequently, while Thargoids can comfortably tolerate environments as cold as -80 degrees Celsius, they cannot withstand environments warmer than 45 degrees Celsius for long. According to notes compiled by
I sent him an invite to the party.
Researcher, Thargoids can survive for a significant time in the vacuum of space, without apparent discomfort, and can tolerate radiation and extreme cold for far longer.
I'm heading towards Hutchison Base. Ginger?
Alrighty.
The Thargoids.
Not there yet. Be there in about a minute.
The INRA developed a
just remember that this is illicit cargo, and if you're allied, they don't tend to scan you. But if they do scan you, I don't know if it was who it was. Someone told me if you pop out your, you either do running silent, or you can
to be digesting the material of which
pop out your, what's it called? Your deploy. Yeah. No, not your heat sinks. You can deploy your hard points, and apparently they get all caught up in like, oh fuck.
Leading to the swift elimination of the Thargoids.
I do silent running and then just auto dock.
It is widely assumed
that since the last
Thargoid conflict, the Thargoids have developed an immunity.
Silent running, auto dock it, bang, and you're sorted.
The Thargoids, starships. In terms of structure and function, Thargoid vessels are radically different from anything produced by humanity, and are able to navigate hyperspace in ways that are not fully understood. They are also at least partly organic, meaning that they can self-repair or heal.
Alright, you're finally within range of me,
Ship
Ginger.
function in general
Finally.
and this restorative
Finally
ability
see
Oh, there
you.
you are. Hey,
have
hey,
been shown
how's
to
it
be
going?
dependent
Yeah,
on
not too bad. There
certain
here we go. We finally
biomechanical
catch up.
Yeah, I finally managed to freaking land on a planet.
Ships.
I think I was just buggy.
Often survive the
Yeah,
destruction
maybe.
of the ship, enabling them to be salvaged. Although they can also be targeted and damaged with appropriate weaponry. They are highly corrosive, however, and require special containment.
Roughly, what's your cargo like?
Thargoid vessels that have sustained combat damage
In
exhibit
the inventory, I've got
patterns.
cargo
Given
capacity
that
of
Thargoid
100.
technology is sophisticated enough for such damage
Okay.
to be repaired, it follows that the Thargoids might deliberately choose to preserve these scars. INRA logs document an encounter with a Thargoid mothership.
So depending on how you load out your Type 9, you're probably going to end up with like
against which the
7,
microvirus
8
was
times that.
successfully deployed.
Fantastic.
Although no such vessels have been
I know,
reported
right?
in recent times.
Oh, beautiful.
Is that with it maxed out with nothing else on it? Because I got it at 776 with
Dozens
no
of
shields.
planets in human-occupied space are peppered with Thargoid barnacles.
Yeah, no.
Biological resource extractors that convert minerals into meta-alloys, a key component in the creation of Thargoid vehicles and technology. Theories that these barnacles have been genetically engineered by the Thargoids have yet to be verified. Larger structures, referred to as
fair.
Thargoid
That's very
surface
fair.
sites, have also been discovered. These sites typically consist of a spiral-shaped structure, nestling within a shallow crater, beneath which lies a series of tunnels. At the heart of this subsurface network is a device that, once activated, emits a
Yeah, I really
holographic
should have
star.
C-logged a lot
The
earlier
sites are
yesterday.
controlled by semi-sentient biomechanical entities called scavengers.
Why'd
The
you tell me that?
Thargoids,
Why'd you
with
tell
the
me that?
Guardians. Archaeological records have revealed that the extinct, non-human civilization known as the Guardians experienced conflict with the Thargoids many thousands of years ago. Logs recovered from Guardian sites indicate that the Thargoids were the aggressor in this conflict, having seeded Guardian space with biomechanical constructs used for resource extraction long before the emergence of the Guardian civilization. The Thargoids apparently believed they were entitled to uncontested dominion of the territory. The Guardians attempted to communicate with the Thargoids and reach a compromise, but without success.
Orbital flight engaged.
Over the course of the conflict, the Guardians developed new technologies to give them an advantage against the Thargoids. These technologies were apparently successful, forcing the Thargoids to abandon their offensive. The Thargoids. Agenda. Thargoids do not attack indiscriminately, and their choice of targets shows them to be highly intelligent. They have also conducted targeted strikes on Aegis facilities and attacked pilots carrying Thargoid items in their cargo holds, indicating that they know they are being studied and want to halt the process. But despite their evident intelligence,
Got some minerals on him,
they appear
hasn't
to
he?
be completely uninterested in meaningful communication. The engineer Ramtar, who has extensively researched the Guardians and their war with the Thargoids,
Is this the October?
holds the view that Thargoid aggression is a product of territorialism. They seed an area with barnacles, thus laying claim to it, and return, sometimes many centuries later, to harvest the extracted resources. Any life form advanced enough to compete with them for the territory is treated as an enemy and summarily attacked. Professor Palin concurs with this view.
Nikon, Alpha, Lima, Delta. The Imperial Flight Operations Bureau is very pleased to receive you, Commander. Ground crew have been informed of your arrival. Approach safely. Docking request approved. Set course for landing pad 05. Use of automated docking computer permitted. You are clear to hand over control.
Any threats to their long-term survival, they will not tolerate any advanced species
Landing gear deployed.
in close proximity.
Scan detected.
The Guardians. Introduction. The Guardians were a non-human race that occupied a large area of space several million years ago.
Touchdown confirmed. Execute system shutdown. Have a pleasant visit, Commander.
At its height, the Guardian civilization was technologically superior to human civilization of the 33rd century.
Yeah, this only
It
took them
occupied
fucking
an
years
area
to
of
do.
roughly equivalent size. The Guardians endured as a spacefaring civilization for at least 8,000 years.
The conflict zones, like not knowing what was on the line and
by
stuff.
a lengthy civil war. The surviving Guardians were then destroyed by artificially intelligent machines of their own creation. The galaxy contains the ruins
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
dozens of Guardian settlements, and data logs recovered from these sites have allowed humanity to compile a remarkably detailed picture of Guardian societies. The Guardians. Early history. The Guardian Society.
Ship released. Expedite climb to exit altitude.
Originally consisted of groups of pack hunters who banded together for mutual protection before organizing themselves into clans.
That's so much better
Even
than
at
how
this
it was,
stage,
the way you
the
can
Guardians were highly intelligent,
pick the
and they
size of the
developed
conflict zone.
sophisticated hunting strategies that quickly saw them become their planet's apex predator. The Guardians' nascent civilization consisted of two discrete ethnic groups, one based primarily in the south of the planet and one in the north. As these groups expanded, they began to encroach on each other's territory, leading to a...
Way ahead is clear. Have a pleasant journey, Commander.
conflict that quickly blossomed into civil war.
3, 2, 1, engage.
The Northern Clan, despite being the smaller of the two groups, overcame their enemy swiftly and with minimal bloodshed, bringing the entirety of the Guardian civilization under their leadership. In the centuries that followed, the Guardian society developed rapidly. Despite their warlike instincts, the Guardians possessed a remarkable capacity for collaboration and compromise. Their willingness to defer immediate gains in favor of lasting societal benefits allowed them to establish a stable, mutually cooperative society that was to remain peaceful and prosperous for thousands of years. The Guardians. Technological era. Although the Guardian Society was in many ways a model of social equilibrium, the Guardians were nevertheless at the mercy of an insidious issue: overpopulation. As their civilization grew and the amount of available land and resources dwindled, the Guardians set their sights on interplanetary colonization. By this time, the Guardians had developed a rudimentary form of space travel. But as the pressures of overpopulation became more acute, the rate of technological progress accelerated, and the Guardians' imperfect starships were soon supplanted by fast, powerful spacefaring vessels. In the centuries that followed, the Guardian civilization...
Frameshift drive charging.
This is why you don't want your developers to be good at space combat.
Eventually coming to
Then you
occupy
don't
a
get
region
gimbaled fucking
equal to that
hard
inhabited
points.
by present-day humanity. The Guardians' next major development was the creation of an interstellar communications
4, 3, 2, 1,
known as the Monolith Network. In addition to functioning as a comprehensive cultural archive, the network allowed those connected to it to freely and instantaneously share knowledge and ideas. The connection to the network was dependent on the use of neural implants, and some of the Guardians were uneasy about this fusion of biological and non-biological. The Guardians. War with the Thargoids. Tens of
frameshift drive charging.
thousands of years earlier, when the Guardians were still a non-spacefaring race, a group of Thargoids entered what would later become Guardian space, looking for new systems to colonize. In addition to earmarking several
4, 3, 2,
systems containing ammonia worlds, they prepared a number of planets for occupation by seeding them with barnacles. These genetically modified constructs were designed to extract resources from the planet and transfer them into resources more useful to the Thargoids. For the Thargoids, seeding a planet with barnacles was an important step in preparing an area for occupation. The Thargoids did not return to these systems for thousands of years.
Fuck,
And when
you
they
throwing
did,
all these
they
updates
discovered
at me,
that a
you must
new
be
race
kicking ass out there.
They're going nuts, bro.
The
Yeah, let's
Thargoids
just say
Yeah.
that. They've got here
due to their innate territorialism.
40 or
The
42.
Guardians
Fucking
responded
hell.
with a partial retreat, but they also started trying to find ways to communicate.
I think it's safe to
with
say Hutt doesn't need our help.
determine the cause of their aggression, and perhaps
Oh, his
negotiate
Verda Lance is a fucking
After
animal. Like
considerable
this,
effort,
that thing
they
is
succeeded in
just
acquiring
frameshift drive charging.
ridiculous.
lacked sufficient understanding of the Thargoid's language to determine the invaders' agenda.
You don't run missiles, you run multi-cannons, and do you use fixed
There's
lasers?
another one. There's another update.
They must repel. Any race that posed a potential threat. The Guardians were left with no choice but to defend themselves militarily. At first, they deployed soldiers. They quickly realized that drones and other mechanized defenses were more effective against such a physically
Jesus, even the devs use fucking...
Within a relatively short period of time, the Guardians' war machines
Wait, what? Why is he only using 4 weapons?
able to recognize Thargoid drive charging, engineering, and to operate entirely independently.
Oh, he's in a
Similarly,
fucking ass.
the Thargoid's biomechanical technology was engineered to identify anything of Guardian origin. To this day, many millions of years after the Guardians disappeared, Guardian
So do you go for damage on your
technology,
weapons?
And Thargoid technology still reacts negatively to the presence of Guardian artifacts. The Guardians' formations felt no fear, fatigue, or uncertainty. The Thargoids, meanwhile, had entered Guardian space unprepared for a protracted military campaign, and ultimately they were forced to retreat. For the Guardians, this was cause for celebration, but many still harbored
I take it there's like also
Jedi
progress. Doubts that the development of sophisticated military hardware had done nothing.
He probably finally went to bed.
Ah.
The Guardians,
He's Canadian, so...
final era. For decades, the Guardians have been experimenting with artificial
I think he's in our time
with the
zone.
creation of the Monolith Network and the knowledge
I don't think he sleeps much.
This
is what I mean.
Progress.
Our investment state went down,
experiments
but we're still at the end of the top tier of our investment.
Machines. These constructs were seen as a means to further enhance the Guardians' technology.
Alright, one left, Huckster. You got it.
into various aspects of their society.
You got it, Huck. Hang on a second, I'm going to fly over where you are. Just to watch this happen.
With both the constructs and the Monolith Network in a symbiotic circle.
I have another mission here that's 6 million for non-lethal weapons.
Always venerated nature, and many saw this new paradigm as a perversion of the natural order. A schism emerged between the nature-worshipping traditionalists and the technologically minded progressives.
I'll finish off Caravan
widened with alarming speed. Efforts were made to diffuse the rising tension.
Yeah, I sort of figured
Really?
that.
Really? We won that battle? We won that battle, did we?
The
No.
network became scapegoats for all manner of social ills, and the traditionalists began to clamour for a return to
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Fucking
the
Spec Ops are
ideological
retarded.
divergence proved insurmountable, and a second civil war erupted, quickly engulfing most of the Guardian star systems. In its early
Well, yeah, it was like Paddle last night at his, he was doing it and he was absolutely tearing shit up.
Significant loss of life, most of the fighting was conducted.
I want to know, I want to...
Progressives fought their enemies with automated war machines, while the traditionalists
I don't know how the
relied
fuck he
mostly
does
on
it.
biological
I don't know
weapons.
what he's got on his hull. It must
The
be like
internecine
grade 5
conflict
engineer.
raged for over 100 years, bringing the Guardian civilization to its knees and retarding further social development. The increasingly zealous traditionalists devoted most of their resources to honoring the dead, exacerbating the problem. As the Guardian society declined, most withdrew into fortified settlements.
Well, yeah, it's the same here. Like the other day,
artificially intelligent
we dropped out and did
constructs
some,
were
did that
horrified by the
engineer grind for the
unfolding around
materials, and then
Extrapolating
we're like
from the current
slap bang
situation,
right back
they
where we
determined
were.
that even if peace was restored, the Guardians would never be able to transcend their violent natures. They decided that the only way to preclude further violence, well,
Yeah, we have to pinch that fucking top off. Okay. Boop. And
best possible chance of survival was to destroy what remained of the Guardian civilization. By this time, the construct
Lakon, Alpha, Lima, Delta. Imperial flight operations will welcome
I'll keep a better eye on my fucking plants.
have been given complete control of the Guardians' munitions and automated war machines.
Approval granted. Set down on landing pad 2-0. Use
Their
of
attack,
automated docking
when
computer
repaired,
permitted.
was
You are
swift
clear to
and
hand over
merciless.
control.
The strikes were executed with a precision that only a machine race could accomplish. The Guardians,
Warning. Temperature critical.
Back in a sec, guys. Going AFC.
The Guardians. Physiology. The Guardians were a bipedal race. The typical Guardian
Warning. Taking heat damage.
is taller and more slender than the average human. They had small, round
Warning. Hull breach attack. Taking internal damage.
eyes, a vestigial nose, and 4 digits on each hand. Their vision was superior to that of humans, while their sense of smell was poorer. Their sense
Module malfunction.
of hearing and touch were roughly equivalent to our own. The Guardians had pinkish red skin.
Yeah, so we were fucking around with Joseph last night.
Critical.
Yeah, he was freaking out.
Module malfunction.
Yeah, he was freaking out. He's like, how the fuck's going on? I'm like, Joseph.
Ranging from
Landing gear
Okay.
deployed.
pale pink to deep crimson. They also had serrated
Yeah, that's
bony
like
ridges
one
on
of
the
those
outside of their
instances where you can
forearms,
like
which we
tell
used as
someone
weapons
who
during their early history,
doesn't
when they were
quite
still
understand the
some
mechanics of the
primitive
game.
pack hunters. The Guardians'
Because
environmental needs
I'd
were
freak out a lot
progress
less if I was in his
to the
position because I know that
Their
missiles
home
can't really
was
do
warmer
shit for
and had lower
shields.
gravity than most Earth-like worlds. And when they began to colonize other planets, they typically favored ones that shared these qualities. The Guardians had 2 genders, and
Shields online.
essentially, procreation was a matter of personal choice, but each individual was obligated to be a parent at least once in their life to ensure the continuation of their genetic line. The average gestation period was around 300 days, and
Be right
infants
back.
were effectively helpless for a period after birth, much like human young. Infants were raised in communal creches rather than by their parents, in keeping with the collaborative philosophies that underpinned Guardian society. The Guardians.
Docking procedure complete. Ship secured. The Empire would like to apologize for any hostilities you may have encountered on your approach to the facility, Commander. We assure you we are doing our utmost to eradicate these individuals.
Society. The Guardians' social constructs were the key not only to their rapid development, but also to the stability that defined the halcyon days of their civilization. Although the Guardians had a natural tendency towards collaboration, it was not until the end of the First Civil War that this tendency had a measurable impact on their society. The social reorganization that followed the war included the creation of statutes that defined not only individuals' rights, but also their responsibilities to each other. As the Guardian society developed, further laws were passed that required individuals to participate in socially progressive activities, from caring for the young to conducting scientific research. These responsibilities were supported by the state, which made education and information freely available to all. For most of their history, the Guardians had no formal faith, but the creation of the Monolith Network precipitated the emergence of a nature religion that decried the veneration of technology. Although this religion had its roots in the Guardians' long-standing reverence for the natural world, it quickly became a radical movement, violently opposed to the use of neural implants and other advanced technologies. Ultimately, however, this new religion was to endure for only a short period, its existence cut short by the destruction of the Guardian society. The Guardians. Technology. The Guardians' pre-industrial history was, in many ways, similar to that of the human race, with the development of tools and agriculture proving central to their development. But one respect
lunch
in which
paddles
they
in
differed
here somewhere.
was
Oh,
in
no,
their
there he is.
understanding of biological engineering.
Lunch paddles in the station.
Practice of selective breeding in order to eliminate or promote certain genetic traits began before the First Civil War. And as the Guardian society progressed, their skill as genetic engineers developed in step. After the war, the Guardians developed the ability to enhance their immune systems to guard against infection, and engineered specific microorganisms to eliminate biological threats. Genetic manipulation also played a part in prenatal care, which involved the removal of hereditary diseases and other undesirable conditions prior to birth. The Guardians were an ecologically conscientious people who assiduously avoided the use of rockets and fossil fuels. Their first spacecraft lacked any form of internal propulsion and were fired into space with electromagnetic launchers. Pilots and passengers were cocooned inside bubbles of breathable gel, which protected them from G-forces of launch and doubled as hibernation pods during long journeys. When it came to warfare, the Guardians relied initially on the blade-like protrusions on their forearms, and later on simple weapons like spears and bows. As they entered the technological era, they developed electromagnetic projectile weapons, utilizing the same technology they used to launch their first spacecraft. They also developed extremely effective shields, capable of protecting entire cities, and even of withstanding orbital bombardment. At that time, however, large-scale conflict was virtually unheard of, and it was not until the conflict with the Thargoids that further military innovations were made. The Guardian's Second Civil War was fought principally as technological.
Landing restraints retracted. You are reminded to observe safe speeds when traversing the docking bay.
Employed by the traditionalists and automated war machines used by the progressives. The shields that protected the Guardian cities were unable to resist these new weapons, forcing many of the Guardians to withdraw into heavily fortified settlements. But the Guardians' most significant technological achievements were unarguably the creation of the Monolith Network and the development of artificial intelligence. The use of neural implants to connect the Guardians with their creations
Frameshift drive charging.
could have ushered in a whole new era of scientific
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
and technological discovery. But unfortunately, these innovations were to lead only to the Guardians' destruction. The Guardians. Language. The Guardians shared a single language, with only minor regional variations. And even after they colonized other planets, they continued to share a common tongue. The Guardians had three primary forms of communication: a spoken language, a gestural language, and a written language. Their spoken language emerged first, followed by a gestural language that allowed them to communicate silently while hunting. This sign language formed the basis of their written language. Consequently, while their written and gestural languages correlated closely, their spoken language was largely distinct. The Guardian's spoken language was used principally to communicate emotional concepts and played a central role in social bonding, while their written language was used mainly to communicate formal and practical ideas. Significantly, their written language was logographic, meaning the words and phrases were represented by symbol characters. The Guardians. Human-Guardian contact. In 3301, the Federal Presidential vessel, Starship One, suffered catastrophic drive failure during a tour of Frontier Systems, resulting in the ship's destruction. Jasmina Halsey, at that time the Federal President, was left drifting in an escape pod, unconscious. During this period of stasis, Halsey believed she was visited by trans-dimensional beings of extraordinary intelligence and compassion. Later, when she was rescued and revived, she was left with the conviction that this experience had been not merely a hallucination. Halsey proceeded to experience visions of mysterious alien
he's at Festus 5.
dense metropolises, full of activity and life.
So you know how those other guys were Outbreak? You can't put anyone in Outbreak, it's a random event.
The discovery of the first Guardian ruins.
So they rolled the dice and they fucking lost.
Rolled the dice and failed, huh?
The fact that these sites were devoid of life led to speculation that Halsey had seen the Guardian worlds not as they are, but as they had been. In the months that followed, several further sites were found. The engineer Ram Tar started researching the Guardians, and eventually succeeded in developing a decryption algorithm that could decode Guardian data, leading to a much understanding of their lost civilization. Since then, other engineers have leveraged Ram Tar's discoveries to develop Guardian humans.
Lakon, Alpha Lima Delta. You have entered Imperial Sovereign Territory. Approach at a safe speed and comply with station regulations. Approval granted. Please make your way to landing pad 07.
species has been banding together to fight the outsider since we lived in caves. We stand against the lawless, the invaders, and the monsters. And we're proud to do it. But you have to remember one thing. Nobody in the history of conflict ever saw himself as a monster. Everyone believes they're the hero.
Touchdown confirmed. Ship secured. The Empire would like to apologize for any hostilities you may have encountered on your approach to the facility, Commander. We assure you we are doing our utmost to eradicate these individuals.
If you can't understand that, if you can't stand in the enemy's shoes, even for a second, then ask yourself why he thinks he needs to kill you. Then you don't know what it means to be a soldier.
Aidan Tanner, address to Federal Cadets, 3298. Admiral Aidan Tanner is a senior officer in the Federal Navy. He has served for more than 4 decades, and in 3303 was given significant responsibility in the struggle against the Thargoids, first being appointed to Chief of Federal Security, and later to Chief Military Liaison for the Cross Superpower Initiative, Aegis. He is widely respected, even outside of Federal space, for his conscientious and level-headed approach to conflict. Born in 3254, Tanner was expected to follow in the footsteps of his authoritarian father by becoming a doctor, but instead enlisted in the Federal Navy along with a couple of friends, in what he would later describe as a rash act of adolescent rebellion that I have not once regretted. Tanner's father died in 3277, but two never resolved their estrangement. Tanner's early naval career was ended.
Landing coupler disengaged. You are reminded to observe safe speeds when traversing the docking bay.
Distinguished. Known to his comrades in arms as Spoonie for his habit of eating directly from poo packets instead of using plates, he was distinguished more by his irreverent sense of humor than his competence. 6 months in, Tanner was found to be responsible for a scurrilous newsletter that satirized several senior officers, including Sergeant Burke Hazel, who was offended and deeply hurt. Hazel had taken a personal interest in Tanner and had encouraged him to persist when the cadet had struggled with basic training. Tanner's defense that he had been trying to improve morale was rejected, and although he was allowed to continue his service, he was marked as a potential insubordinate, a label that would later return to haunt him. Tanner's chief instructional officer, Commander Myron Dunstan, warned him to take
Speed restrictions lifted. Safe travels, Commander.
Alright. That gives me a good idea. Huck, how do you feel about crime today?
Experience he would later characterize as showing him what the military.
Alright, you two do your crime. I'll be happy. I'm quite happy just doing my trading.
Discarded his role as counter comedian and threw himself
the way it
into
looks
his
like
training with unprecedented energy.
Is
the decisive incident in Tanner's career was the Autolycus.
We can actually go about and any Crimson ships can actually get this to the Major Blue dudes. If we take out Crimson and Major Blue, their trade ships, their fucking convoy ships, any of that stuff we fuck up, it should push them away from like Boom and Civil Liberty and shit. And I think in Anara, I can actually find out right now if they're investment or whatever. If these guys are sitting in investment states, we can fuck with that royally.
He became convinced an attack was imminent. Surveillance footage later showed Horn acting in an increasingly erratic fashion.
And I know I, for one,
screamed
really fucking enjoy that.
His words, and struck an ensign for making a minor mistake. Seeing a group of civilian ships preparing to leave.
2,000 meters from touchdown.
Horn ordered Tanner to open fire, convinced they are about to ram the Autolycus. Tanner refused to obey the order,
Landing gear deployed,
claiming it was unlawful and that Horn was unfit to command. At the time it took for a furious Horn to have Tanner thrown in the brig, the escaping ships had jumped out of the system. At Tanner's court-martial, Horn tried to use his history of rebelliousness against him But an explosive series of revelations followed.
Landing complete. Execute system shutdown. The Empire would like to apologize for any hostilities you may have encountered on your approach to the facility, Commander. We assure you we are doing our utmost to eradicate these individuals.
The escaping ships had been carrying evacuees, and the station's apparent silence was in fact due to Horn himself, who had disabled shipborne communications without telling his crew. Horn, who it would later emerge had been suffering from lexalamine-induced psychosis, committed suicide mid-trial by hijacking a fighter and detonating a grenade inside the cockpit. Tanner was exonerated, receiving a commendation from President Antonia Madison for his actions. Individuals. Aisling Duval.
My grandfather had an heirloom he used to keep in our winter palace. It was a priceless marble statuette of one of our ancestors standing with his foot on a woman's neck, while she looks up at him in fear or adoration, probably both. I loathed it. It was commissioned to commemorate some victory or other, but that wasn't the point of the thing. The message was clear, and it's the same one I've heard all my life. Deep down, the people we dominate are happy to be dominated. When I was 6 years old, I smashed it. The servants came running. My father stormed down the stairs in his gown. He asked if it was an accident. There was such a strange look in his eyes. I knew that if I said yes, nobody would argue. Nothing more would be said. But I didn't. I stamped my foot and said, "No, Daddy. I did it on purpose." It's the same with tradition. The people who pass it on think it's precious. They expect you to cherish it and pass it on in turn. But what they think doesn't matter, because the responsibility rests with you. If you know it's wrong, then you have to smash it. On purpose.
Aisling Duval. A fireside chat with Serena, 3301. Princess Aisling Duval, born in 3276, is a prominent member of the Imperial royal family. The eldest child of the infamous Prince Harold, she had a troubled upbringing. Her father was notorious for his hedonistic lifestyle, while her mother, entertainer Imogen Eccentrica Gabriellini, died from an aneurysm shortly after Aisling's birth. The autopsy identified the cause of death as an overdose of purple sunflake, an obscure and expensive narcotic.
Landing restraints retracted. You may proceed when ready.
Conspiracy theorists insisted that she was murdered to remove an embarrassment to the royal family. Aisling has indicated that she is aware of these rumors, but has never commented on them. Despite living a life of great privilege, Aisling has publicly embraced the cause of the less fortunate, become an outspoken opponent of slavery, something that has made her the target of fierce criticism from the traditionalist imperials. But despite this criticism, Aisling is a popular figure with a widespread media presence. Her campaigning has brought definite benefits to many of the poorest in imperial society.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
And gone some way towards easing tensions between the Empire and the Federation. Her critics, however, dismiss her as a puppet, doing the bidding of a shadowy circle of advisors. They claim there is no underlying coherence to Aisling's policies. To them, she is a naive and sentimental child, without the necessary experience for politics, backing one populist cause after another, always conscious of how her activism is affecting her brand. Significantly, the most savage of Aisling's critics and the staunchest of her defenders agree on a counterpoint to this, that her apparent vacuity is nothing but a front, carefully created in collusion with the very advisors whom others believe are exploiting her. The People's Princess, they argue, is exceptionally good at being underestimated. Following the death of Hengist Duval in 3301, Aisling was considered by many to be a viable contender for the imperial throne. As Aisling was born out of wedlock, however, and her father was removed from the line of succession on the grounds of mental incapacity, Orissa Lavinie Duval was deemed to have the stronger claim. Individuals: Albert Tesreau.
I may not be religious, but I still have faith. Not the kind my parents have. In fact, I don't think their desperate devotion can even be called faith. The point of faith is that it's tested. And if you insist that your beliefs are above criticism or analysis like the star cults do, you're refusing to allow your faith to be tested at all. What do I have faith in? The fundamental sanity of the universe, I suppose. I don't believe in absolute evil, only in the iniquity that emerges when understanding fails. I believe intelligent life will naturally tend towards cooperation rather than conflict, not because there's a higher power guiding our decisions, but because that's simply the most logical course. And yes, our recent experiences with the Thargoids have tested that faith harshly.
Albert Tesreau. Professor Albert Tesreau is an Imperial scientist, an affiliate of the Achenar Research Council, and a founding member of the Joint Superpower Initiative Aegis, which was established in August 3303 to investigate the Thargoid menace. She currently serves as Aegis's head of research. Tesreau's biological parents were members of the Besmeratu cult, an isolationist group secreted within a sealed compound that believed itself to have been chosen by non-human beings. The cult's charismatic leader, Anton Hotep, claimed humanity had been under the protection of these beings for millennia, that he was their cosmic messiah, and that only the believers would be saved from the coming of the
Frameshift drive charging.
apocalypse. In support of these claims,
4, 3, 2, 1,
you've produced alien artifacts, allegedly sourced from archaeological digs and other cult members.
Yeah. You just need to be dramatic first, huh?
Albert was marked as a troublemaker.
You know me, I get dramatic and then I'm over it.
Due to her heretical belief in rationality and the scientific method, she was formally banished from Besmeratu.
Lakon Alpha Lima Delta. You have entered Imperial Sovereign Territory. Approach at a safe speed and comply with station regulations. Permission granted. Set down on landing pad 2-2. Use of automated docking computer permitted. You are clear to hand over control.
Forcing the compound to call for help from outsiders, and thus humiliating Hotep. After her story became public knowledge, she was adopted into the household of Senator Olivia Tesreau of Achenar and awarded a scholarship to study at Grand Imperial alongside the children of the nobility. She wrote her master's thesis on the potential uses of mathematics as a lingua franca between human beings and intelligent non-human.
Incoming message.
She's passionately interested in non-human intelligence and meaningful discourse between species. Despite the counterfeit alien contact myths of her early life, or perhaps because of them, she's determined to do whatever she can to act as a bridge between human and non-human cultures.
2,000 meters from touchdown.
Individuals are on delay.
I'm telling you, Delane is the most trustworthy cuss you could ever work with. Why? Because he always makes good on his threats. Anyone else tells you that
I think I just found Huckster ship right there.
But if Delane tells you that, you know he'll do exactly what he says. To the letter. He wants people to be afraid of him, and that means he keeps his promises.
Landing complete. Execute system shutdown. The Empire would like to apologize for any hostilities you may have encountered on your approach to the facility, Commander. We assure you we are
the world I want to raise my
You gotta respect that.
Mantle Hoek, arms trader. Archon Delane is the head of the Cumo crew, a powerful criminal syndicate. He refers to himself as the Pirate King, a title not recognized by any government. Delane's early life is not documented, and there are competing legends of his origin. Some believe he grew up in a drug den on one of the frontier worlds, where he learned to fight. Other stories have him working as a bouncer in the brothel where he was born, or training as a grease monkey at an orbital shipyard that hosted clandestine arena fights after hours. What is certain is that Delane challenged and slaughtered the reigning pirate lord of the Cumo crew when he was only 15. The title of Pirate Lord is only transferred on the death of the incumbent, either to a nominated successor or to the victor of a ritual challenge. According to tradition, the Pirate Lord must honor any challenge to his leadership, regardless of who issues it, although the choice of weapons is left to him. In Delane's case, Pirate Lord Crab opted for a bare hands contest, a highly unusual choice. It has been suggested that Crab saw Delane as a weak target, due to his albinism, unworthy of the Pirate Lord's personal attention. It is possible that Crab intended to give Delane a beating rather than kill him outright. If so, it was a fatal act of mercy. Footage of the fight, shot by onlookers, shows Delane deftly evading Crab's heavy blows, allowing the larger man to tire himself out before delivering a sudden jab to Crab's eye. Delane then battered Crab into submission, continuing to pummel the body until it was unrecognizable. The Cumo crew immediately split, dividing itself into those who saw Delane as a legitimate leader and those who refused to follow an unproven youth. The rift was soon closed, however, as Delane proved himself as capable a leader as he was a fighter. It became clear that Delane intended to establish not only his own reputation, but that of the crew. From then on, Delane crushed any dissent with the same uncompromising brutality he had shown to Crab. He took a zero-tolerance approach to
Ship released. You may proceed when ready.
petty squabble that had previously paralyzed the Cumo crew, and in doing so, turned what had been an anarchic band of opportunists into a lethally effective raiding force. United in purpose and more organized than ever before, the Cumo crew quickly became the terror of the Pegasus sector, absorbing lesser pirate gangs, raiding civilian stations with impunity, and taking over corporate facilities. In Delane's early years of leadership, many rival pirate lords demanded the right to one-on-one combat, each of them convinced that they would be the one to strike him down and take over his enviable criminal empire. Delane met each challenger in turn, agreed to their choice of weapons, and promptly dispatched them. After the death of Pirate Lord Horvath, who Delane strangled with his own razor whip, there were no further challenges. Delane and his Cumo crew rule by fear, but they operate according to strict rules. If a settlement in Cumo territory has paid its tribute, any Cumo pirate foolish enough to raid it risks being stripped of his rank, his crew, his possessions, his skin, and his life.
Frameshift drive charging.
According to the severity of the offense.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
These are the infamous 5 strippings, instigated by Delane as a standard punishment across Cumo territory. Individuals. Arissa Lavinie Duval.
I am a daughter, not just of the Emperor, but of the Empire. And I look upon our traditions and achievements with pride. I hold, as my forefathers did, that to be born imperial is to receive the blessings of the universe. That is the true meaning of the ceremonial wine tipped upon our newborn heads. Does this pride in our heritage make me old-fashioned? Some would say so. I know that there are those in my family who cannot bear the burden of rank and privilege without a chronic sting of guilt. But I ask that you look charitably upon those ailing, as I do. After all, rebellion is the prerogative of adolescence.
Lakon, Alpha Lima Delta. Station services are on standby for your arrival, Commander. Good to have you. Okay, Commander. Proceed to landing pad 26. You are go for automated docking. Enjoy the ride, Commander.
That you reserve your anger for a worthier target. For those who acknowledge our traditions in public, but privately serve only their own corrupt interests. For those who exploit
Scan detected.
Their ancestors.
You're on course for landing, Commander. Take her in gently.
Sacrifices while holding our military in contempt. For all the petty, venom, spineless parasites in our very midst.
Landing gear deployed.
With many such parasites, and for form's sake, I have none.
Solid contact, dispatching ground crew. You're all checked in, Commander. Enjoy your visit.
My contempt. But that mass has served its purpose, and now I cast it aside. To the worms nestling so complacently in the heart of my beloved empire, I say this. We see you, and we are coming for you.
Landing gear retracted.
Detach is good. You are go for departure.
Arissa Lavinie Duval, private speech given at her post-coronation dinner. Arissa Lavinie Duval is the reigning emperor, having been appointed to the position by the Imperial Senate, and a direct descendant of the first emperor, Henson Duval. Her father was originally thought to be the late Prince Aristide de Lavinie, but Arissa's claim to be the illegitimate daughter of Emperor Hengist Duval has since been ratified by DNA testing. Arissa distinguished herself as a serving senator early in life. Unlike other senators who took their patron support for granted or left the work of intercession to a delegated representative, Arissa made a point of visiting and speaking directly with her patrons.
Frameshift drive charging.
Foremost among her concerns was how little scope for mobility the Empire offered. In theory, it was possible to rise in rank, but in reality, power was hoarded and loyal service went
4, 3, 2, 1.
To her mother's horror, Arissa proceeded to go undercover as a slave in the Lagany household in Nakano, talking to the staff and listening in on meetings. What she learned changed her view of the Empire forever. The rules could be broken with impunity, so long as the proper bribes were paid. A senator's favor could be secured, a corporation's accounts could be doctored, and an atrocity could be covered up for the right price. On paper, it might be a patronage
Frameshift drive charging.
system, but it operated as a de facto plutocracy. Arissa's experience as a slave also cemented her own view of imperial slavery, namely that it was no worse than indentured servitude, and downright luxurious compared to what the Federation's lowest paid workers had to endure. Non-imperial commentators responded by pointing out that slaves in noble households could hardly be held up as typical examples of slavery, and that Arissa might have learned more when she spent her time in Rostopol's mining facility. Arissa has made no secret of her determination to restore the rule of law within the Empire. She means to purge it of corruption, and has received widespread public support for this cause. Unlike her niece, Aisling Duval, she sees the Empire system as inherently worthy, if impeded by long-term neglect. They need to be cleansed, not torn down and rebuilt, as per Aisling's wishes. As the first woman to serve as Emperor, Arissa is a controversial figure to many, regardless of her personal political stance. Many hardcore traditionalists within the Empire have vowed to depose her and replace her with a ruler more to their liking. Individuals. Denton Patrius.
What disgusts me? That's a perceptive question. By asking it, you reveal that you consider me a man of taste. If you'd asked me what I hated, I'm not sure I could have hidden my disappointment in such a banal question. But disgust, that deserves an answer. It's jealousy that most disgusts me. It's such a petty, self-defeating emotion. I see it every day. Most men look at me and think, I want what he has. Perhaps 1 in 1,000 thinks, how can I achieve what he achieved? Now, he's not jealous. He's motivated. Who knows? We might work together one day. But most men are not like that. They have the desire, but not the initiative. It's like a dog watching you eat and wishing he was home. And that's the tragic thing about jealous people.
Lakon, Alpha Lima Delta. We are honored to welcome you to this Imperial station. Request approved. Please continue to Bay 07.
But really?
Ready for automated docking sequence.
They hate themselves. Because deep in their hearts they know they're too lazy to fight for their dreams.
Denton Patrius, a fireside chat with Serena, 3302. Denton Patrius is a powerful Imperial senator and the Admiral of the Imperial Fleet.
Scan detected.
He's a controversial figure, admired by many Imperials for his wealth and influence, but deeply unpopular.
1,000 meters from touchdown.
Other quarters, his uncompromising approach
to
deserts. He is also noted for commanding one of the strongest private military fleets in colonized space. Patrius has repeatedly issued loans to struggling governments via shell companies.
Now we can fuck it.
You have docked safely. Please shut down systems.
When the government defaults on the loan, a common occurrence, Patrius...
Oh yeah, he did flush it. He hit the top.
Since few governments are able to match the power of its private fleet, this is usually a one-sided affair. Although some governments have appealed for and received the aid of independent pilots. This strategy has brought numerous systems under the control of Patrius's various corporations. If Patrius has any long-term goals beyond increasing his personal power and holding the line against the Alliance and the Federation, they're not publicly known. Politically, he has always played the part of a loyal Imperial. He accepts the new progress, and has devoted considerable attention to eradicating Emperor's Dawn, an insurgent organization responsible for the assassination of Emperor Hengist of Al. His support for the Empire has been well rewarded, and as Admiral of the Fleet, he enjoys an enviable level of prestige. But even this may not be enough, and many have speculated that Patrius harbors a desire to become Emperor. During the period of uncertainty that followed the death of Hengist of Al, Patrius suggested that the title of Emperor be assigned on the basis of public support, rather than lineal descent, a statement that was widely interpreted as a bid for the throne. When the succession passed to Orissa Lavinia de Val by vote of the Senate, Patrius did not contest it. The question of who should succeed Orissa Lavinia de Val is now a pertinent one. Imperial commentators have suggested that Patrius's highly visible courtship of Princess Ashley may be part of a long-term strategy as the piece of
retracted.
Restraints released. All clear, Commander.
savvy media manipulation. Orissa Lavinia de Val has no children, whereas a child born to a Patrius de Val partnership could be an extremely strong contender for the throne. Individuals: Edmund Mahon.
Naturally, we faced criticism over the Luke conflict. Many people thought we should have been in there, guns blazing. On the one hand, you have a system that wants to be independent, and on the other, you have the oppressive Federation telling them no. The authorities put out a call for aid, and what did the Alliance do? We turned them down.
Frameshift drive charging.
That would never have happened on the Holos, would it? I would have been at the head of the Alliance fleet, taking down the Fed-Cap ship with a well-aimed torpedo up the tailpipe.
4, 3, 2, 1.
and legal clarity. When Lou asked for our help, who exactly was doing the asking? The people. All right then, which people? Who counted their votes, and how was the process monitored? Was their decision an informed one, or were they bombarded with propaganda? The Alliance is rigorous, you see.
Frameshift drive charging.
You can't join a voluntary association of free systems unless you can offer demonstrable proof of your freedom to choose. Just as you can't enter into a contract without being of sound mind, acting without...
4, 3, 2, 1.
coercion.
Edmund Mahon, responding to a question from Jessica Braganza, one of a party of school children visiting the Prime Minister's residence. Edmund Mahon is the current Prime Minister of the Alliance. The product of a corn-farming family based on Birmingham and the DSO system, Mahon was hard-working and shrewd from an early age, with a particular talent for negotiation. Nobody seemed able to beat his crop.
Frameshift drive charging.
Places down, and he always managed to shave something off the asking price of any tools or machinery the family needed. In the first book of his autobiography, The Shadow of Silo 7, he attributes this talent to
4, 3, 2, 1.
proprietary research, claiming that he always found out as much as he could about the people he'd been dealing with before meeting them. At 18, Mahon won a federal scholarship to study law. Frustrated with what he saw as the balance of power between corporations and their employees, Mahon intended to specialize in cases of corporate exploitation. He quickly found, however, that the legal profession was not to his liking. Awash with duplicity, double talk, and corruption was his assessment, and he switched track to political science. 2 years into his course, and following an increasingly vocal series of broadcasts on a personal video channel in which he argued in favor of the newly formed alliance, Mahon's scholarship funds were abruptly cut off. He had unknowingly violated a clause that required him to refrain from public criticism of the federal government. Unwilling to return to his family without having made something of himself, Mahon had no choice but to look for work while continuing to study. The bar in which he had spent so many hours as a student was happy to take him on as a bartender, and he proved so competent that after his graduation he took on the role of manager. Mahon claims it was this experience, rather than any innate idealism, that set him on the path to becoming a career politician. As he puts it, a good bartender has to be able to listen, and to give equal respect to everyone, while demanding that others do the same. He has to be able to distinguish what is meant from what is said, encourage free exchange of views while tactfully enforcing the rules, and break up fights. Mahon's break into politics came when his friends encouraged him to run for city office against them.
Lakon Alpha Lima Delta, welcome to the station, Commander. Please fly safely. Access authorized. Please enter directly from Bay 37. You are approved for automated docking.
Campaign began as a token protest, since Crane was expected to win by a comfortable majority. Mahon eviscerated Crane in the life debates, however, winning over the audience with a combination of wry humor and an empathetic awareness of local concerns that Crane could not hope to match, living as he did in a high-altitude apartment complex. Crane was elected by a narrow margin, but Mahon's supporters begged him to continue in politics. So it was that, at the age of just 27, Mahon found himself working alongside elder statesperson Irene Mendel, helping with a campaign to break the DSO system away from the Federation and make it a part of the Alliance. By the time DSO joined the Alliance in 3286, Mahon was a seasoned parliamentarian. He served as a planetary representative several times, before making his bid for the premiership.
Scan detected.
Individuals. Felicia Winters.
Politics has always been a breeding ground for lies. But one
landing gear deployed.
lie outshines all the others. And today, we heard it once again. It is the insinuation that to seek a diplomatic solution is weak. That a preference for discussion over passion...
Docking successful. Commence power down. You are most welcome, Commander.
Means we're afraid to fight. We are accustomed to this, of course. We've heard the President's supporters pervert our words again and again. When we face up to the Federation's previous wrongs, they mock us for our so-called liberal guilt. When we celebrate a détente between the superpowers that will help us oppose the Thargoid menace, they
landing gear retracted. Disengage from landing pad. You are go for departure.
Why, that we are traitors. But it is they who are afraid, and with good reason. Because the people of the Federation have had enough. They will no longer be manipulated into reckless conflicts that serve only to fatten the wallets of the arms dealers and the privileged. They will no longer pretend that Hudson's tub thumping and saber rattling is anything more than vacuous propaganda. From star to star, Connolly to complex, satellite to station, we hear the same heartfelt cry. Let the mistakes of the past remain in the past, and let the Federation embrace only the best of itself. Let us return to the core values of hard work, honest trade, support for the vulnerable, and mutual respect.
Frameshift drive charging.
The people are ready for us. Let us be ready for them.
Hey, someone's on the screen. Hello. Yeah, tell me there's someone watching. Thanks for joining me, dude. What's going on? Where are you from? What are you doing this far?
Serves as ex-officio shadow opposite President Zachary Hudson of the Republican Party. Winters was born and raised on Taylor Colony, one of the oldest human colonies, and worked for the Sirius Corporation before going into politics full-time at the age of 44. Her current role was thrust upon her unexpectedly. Prior to 3301, Winters was Secretary of State to then-President Jasmina Halsey.
Frameshift drive charging.
Halsey and Vice President Ethan Naylor went missing aboard Starship One. Winters became acting president. The assumption of this responsibility left her visibly shaken, and despite her popularity in press, it was widely felt that she was not up to the job. The Liberal Party was in a state of crisis at the time, following the Loose Front. A group of forces had sought to make the loose system independent. Declaration of war from the Federation. Many of the party's supporters were shocked by President Halsey's decision to open fire.
Great time wherever you are. Thanks for
according to reports, Winters had questioned the action, arguing passionately with her friend Halsey behind closed doors, while maintaining a front of public solidarity. Consequently, she found herself responsible for a party whose deserted it, and whose values slipped out of her life.
Enough for it. So.
Shortly after Halsey's disappearance, Zachary Hudson called for an emergency vote of no confidence that he resoundingly won, resulting in his appointment to the role of president. Given the massive support for Hudson and the disarray among the Liberals, Winters was expected to resign and let the Liberal Party rebuild itself from the ground up. Instead, she threw herself into her work, leading efforts to persuade various systems not to defect to the Alliance, and distributing aid packages to planets in need. Her energetic and proactive approach led to fresh support for both her and her party, and she currently rivals Hudson in the popularity stakes. Individuals. Angus Duval. Angus Duval, 3163 to 3301.
Playcon Alpha Lima Delta. You're clear for approach, Commander. Submit a request and enjoy your stay. Okay, Commander. Make your way to landing pad number 20. Acknowledged, Commander. Clear for assisted docking.
On the day of his wedding to Florence Lavinie.
It's tough to find.
Hengist reigned during a time of significant change. The Imperial Senate
always
had
when
begun
you're
to
not
grow
looking
in
for it,
power.
that's when you
A
get-
process
that's when
that
you
had
find
begun
it.
during the long sickness of Hengist's father, Hesketh. The development of the Frameship drive had radically altered life in human-occupied space, facilitating easy access to goods and interstellar travel, and opening
2,000 meters from touchdown.
formerly isolated cultures to outside influence. Old animosities between the Empire and the Federation finally began to fade. Hengist appeared to neither resist nor oppose these many changes.
Scan detected.
Instead, opting to keep the Empire as stable as he could on a day-to-day basis. This middle ground approach was deeply unpopular with the Empire's hardcore traditionalist allies, who saw Hengist as short-sighted, detached, and complacent. In 3238,
Docking confirmed. Power down your engines. Good to have you, Commander.
Hengist wed Anthea Viola Lampeter in an arranged marriage, planned since his childhood by his late father. Despite a storm of publicity and celebrations across Imperial space that verged on the hysterical, there was clearly little genuine affection between the couple. It was an open secret that the match had been made solely because of optimal genetic compatibility, and that Hengist could not refuse without dishonouring his father's memory. As the marriage crumbled, Hengist spent much of his time with his boyhood friend, Aristide de Lavinie, and his wife, Florence, at their estate on Achenar. Inflammatory tracts from this period portray the imperial dynasty and its noble cohorts as little more than libertines, indulging in lascivious affairs and lengthy holidays, while the Senate did the real work of government. The most scurrilous rumour was that the Duval genetic code had been corrupted by centuries of interference, prompting speculation that a successor of the true genetic would have to be found. The birth of Hengist's heir, Prince Harold, temporarily quieted the skeptics. A carefully orchestrated father-son photo shoot, when Harold was 9, showed the girl riding horses on Achenar, throwing javelins, watching
Detach is good. You are go for departure.
The photo shoot was clearly designed to appeal to traditional imperial values, and it succeeded. For several years after, Prince Harold was the darling of the Empire, a symbol of promise. The intense media focus on the prince's life is now believed to be partly responsible for his fall from grace, which saw him become a notorious playboy and philanderer, and which eventually resulted in his exclusion from the succession on the grounds of mental incapacity. Towards the end of Hengist's life, it emerged that Arissa Lavinie, the daughter of Florence Lavinie, was in fact his daughter. Hengist intended to strengthen her claim to the
Frameshift drive charging.
by marrying Florence. Thus,
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
to Arissa, but he was assassinated before this could take place. The most enduring criticism of Emperor Hengist is that he failed to plan adequately for the future. Certainly, the matter of the succession created tensions that endure to this day. Individuals. Ishmael Palin.
If the history of eugenics tells us anything, it is that we do not tend towards greater egalitarianism over time, but rather find new ways for the privileged to exploit and control the dispossessed. Nevertheless, I do occasionally dream of ways in which we might evolve further. If I could change just one aspect of human nature, it would be our chronic tendency towards tribalism. In that matter, we have barely advanced a step in 1,000,000 years. While the sun shines, we meet and treat with one another, but when the skies darken, we withdraw and whisper suspiciously. And at the first flash of the unknown, we huddle like witless primates in a cave, terrified of the thunder, trusting only those who smell the same as us.
Professor Ishmael Palin, Memorandum to Students, 3289. Professor Ishmael Palin is a scientist specializing in research into non-human technologies and cultures, with a particular emphasis on material artifacts. He is generally considered one of the galaxy's foremost experts on the Thargoids. Professor Palin began his career working for the federal government as a member of the Homeland Scientific Council. In 3301, when objects apparently of non-human origin were discovered in a number of systems, the Federation launched a research program and placed Professor Palin in charge. To the surprise of many, the program was shut down after only a week, ostensibly on the grounds of safety. Palin refused to comment on the decision, but inside sources later revealed stark differences in opinion between Palin and the federal authorities. Palin insisted that the fruits of his team's research into the so-called unknown artifacts, later reclassified as Thargoid sensors, should be open to everyone, but his federal paymasters wanted the Federation alone to benefit. Palin promptly established his own research body, the Palin Institute, and announced his intent to relocate to the Maya system, beyond the boundaries of superpower-controlled space. His ship disappeared shortly after he set off for Maya, however, and it was not until March 3302 that Palin and his crew were discovered, alive, in escape pods in the Oralos system. Palin revealed that unknown parties had abducted the team, held them captive, and questioned them extensively about their research. Shortly thereafter, Palin stepped down as the head of the Palin Institute in favor of Cora Shaw, citing opposition to his work from dark forces as the reason. He established his own independent research center on Maya 83A and began to study meta-alloys, a material sourced from the Thargoid structures nicknamed barnacles. In October 3302, Palin discovered that meta-alloys could be applied to the development of new defensive technologies, but no sooner had the news broken than the Federation blockaded his research center with a Farragut-class battlecruiser, preventing all access. The move was condemned by the Alliance and Empire, but the Federation appeared to take no notice. Almost a year later, in September 3303, the federal blockade was lifted. No explanation was given either for the blockade or for its cessation. The event has since been interpreted as the beginning of the end of the Federal Imperial Cold War. Professor Palin's career has been an
describe in lurid detail what you do.
Partly because of his determination that research should benefit everyone, and partly because of his dogged tenacity in the face of repeated interference. He was aware that by choosing to study the Thargoids, he was making himself a target, since there were shadowy agencies who very much wanted to be the sole beneficiaries of this research. But he defiantly persisted with his work nonetheless. Professor Palin may not consider himself heroic, but the fact remains that many less principled scientists in his position would have long ago submitted to intimidation or the promise of material reward.
Okay, for those that were wondering what that was, I'll paint a word picture for you.
I know what they're saying. They're picking my story to pieces.
Okay.
Some of the criticism is rational.
So the word picture is,
for example,
it's just a side shot of a man in jeans, with the belt in his jeans, and the caption is, California concealed carry, but he's concealing a straw, a plastic straw, by the way, in his butt. So. I don't know, I could hear you giggling, so, I figured what the hell.
Jasmina Halsey, 3302. Jasmina Halsey, a former politician, served as president of the Federation from 3300 to 3301. She now works as a peace activist and close advisor to Alliance Prime Minister Edmund Mahon. Halsey claims the profound transformation of her
we have no idea what happened at the halftime show.
visionary experience in which
We were having sex.
with benign an episode that allegedly occurred in 3301 following the destruction of her vessel.
I troll you again.
Prior to the disappearance of Starship One, Halsey's presidency was unpopular among federal citizens. Taxes had been raised too many times, and her military interventions were seen as heavy-handed. A campaign to ban the onion head went awry when the crops were fired.
It was the second time we had that, yeah.
During the Lu Rebellion, Halsey gave the order
3
to
times
fire
that day,
on a
yeah,
civilian
very happy with
convoy.
that.
in the belief that a rebel leader...
I think our personal best is what, 4 or 5?
Many senior commanders in the Federal Navy
5, I
lost
think, our
faith in
first night.
Halsey
First
and
time we ever
transferred
met.
their loyalty to then Shadow President Zachary Hudson.
It was
Hudson
four times before we even left.
4 times before we even left their house to go and have dinner with the parents.
And achieved an overwhelming victory. Though Halsey was later found alive, drifting in an escape pod, suggestions that she might be reinstated as president gained little support.
5 times in one day. That's
surprisingly,
it's been the
Halsey's
record.
account of her experiences
Pretty impressed,
has received a
I'm
large
happy.
degree of acceptance among the galactic community. But even those who accept her description of an encounter with non-human entities suspect there is more to the story than has been made public. Skeptics hold that the event presents too many unanswered questions, such as precisely what happened to
Well,
Starship.
I think why there is one
as well
person
as
watching this
offering
who's
Halsey a
obviously getting
suspiciously
way too much
convenient
information
way
about her
of
sex
failing
life.
to present her career. The most scathing of Halsey's
Alright, too bad. You fucking joined it. You're gonna fucking listen. No, they're not there.
You're just talking to talk.
I'm just talking to talk. You know, especially when the person on the stream is getting massive amounts of information about our sex life. What? Why? They don't know who you are.
And her public condemnation
Hello,
of
they
the
know
federal
you, they
imperial
know me.
Cold War. But more recently, she is
I
simply
know, this could be just a totally random person watching this.
individuals.
And the amount of patience they'll have to get to this part.
The fortune teller rattling bones in her simple hut.
We're about
The smiling
nearly 3 hours
insurance
in.
salesman with his snakeskin briefcase.
The amount
and
of
the
patience
data analyst with his
that would be
interactive
needed.
holographic model are all selling the same thing.
Well, it's bigger than yours.
That's what she said.
Paradoxes of human existence that create the freedom to be spontaneous, thinking it essential to our nature, while constantly seeking reassurance that nothing unexpected is going to happen. We flatter ourselves with the belief that we are exempt from the rules of modeling that govern the rest of the universe.
This poor person in the stream.
Introduction to
Yeah, listening. They haven't left yet. I'm surprised. Thank you for joining the stream. Like, keep on forgetting that there's someone there who was actually. I forget I'm streaming
Then
sometimes.
he was trolling me because he thought that his friends were on his headphones.
Serious gun.
But no, basically he's trolling me because there's someone on the stream.
I'm trolling because there's someone on the stream.
Having
Fantastic.
achieved doctorates
Good.
in multiple
Good,
fields
good, good.
and specializing
Yeah.
in extrapolating potential
No.
future situations from limited data. Although he is in many respects an innovator, Yong-Rui embodies the archetype of the healthy, energetic corporate executive, with little of the eccentricity that traditionally characterizes visionaries. A good deal of his popularity is attributable to his innate serenity and outward conventionality. Those who have worked under him describe him as radiating self-assurance and giving the impression that everything is completely
Yes, that will be
under
happening a bit later on.
Yong-Rui has
It'll be
brought
happening
similar
as soon as I get
sense
it by a
of
Type 9.
to Sirius Gulf.
We're not finding a station that has a Type 9.
Under his
Fuck
governance,
yeah,
the
I mean,
impression that they can trust their government to do the right thing.
in more
A
ways
rare
than one.
achievement for any administration.
You were in earlier.
Yong-Rui has stated many times
Twice.
that he does not believe in the concept of chaos, holding that while order is objective, chaos is subjective. Since existence is fundamentally
I
meaningful,
think so.
any semblance of discord can only be the result of the observer's
Had to get it in
to
tonight,
discern
yeah.
the underlying meaning. Although some might mistake Yong-Rui's views for a form of mysticism, he is a staunch materialist. He attributes his success in economics to his insistence upon viewing the universe, especially its human component, in clear and unsentimental terms. All human
Person
behavior
is still on the stream.
can be reduced to simple, quantifiable factors.
Thank you for joining in and, you know, having fun with the complete and utter lunacy of my fiance and myself. Having a great time.
We're having a great time. We're just sitting on the couch. You're playing a video game. I'm on my phone.
Individuals,
How are we having a great time?
Pranav and Tal.
Because I'm playing a video game and you're on the phone.
could see me today, would they approve of what I've done? I doubt it. Enlightenment is supposed to be
Looks like you're sitting around in your underwear.
In theory, it's accessible
Yeah,
to
boys.
but in practice, only those who devote years of their life to
Sexy bra,
meditation
sexy
can hope to
things.
accomplish anything. To do what we have done. Democratize the spirit through technology would look to my forebears like unforgivable.
Normally you're sitting here naked, so
But all things must happen in their appointed time. We now stand on the verge of overcoming the greatest obstacle to human progress there has ever been. The isolation of the human consciousness. Loneliness. Misunderstanding.
More than likely.
All forms of conflict result from this detachment.
Yeah, if you're laughing, get it.
But our
You know, if you are
technology
laughing at
allows
us,
us to truly
give us a
see the
sub.
world through
Give us a
others'
like, give us a sub.
We can finally achieve what the mystics and sages have spent centuries striving for, and break down the fortress.
Let us know if you're having a good time out there listening to us.
Bernard Van Tal is the leader of the Utopia movement, within which he is referred to by the honorific Sim Good.
Lakon Alpha Lima Delta, Federal Flight Control welcomes you. Please submit a docking request before entering the station.
It's a vision.
Right, well, we've got what I'm going on. I'm going to grab a food. No, I touch it.
Morally and Spirichev, via the application of technology with a particular focus on
I'm about to
simulations,
touch a painting in a second.
Oh, I'm touching Ubi.
digitized
Oh, I'm touching
emotions
Ubi.
and perceptions of another.
Back that hand.
Bernard inherited
Oh,
leadership
look, there's a nipple.
from his
Oh,
father,
wait.
Rishi
You ain't
was the founder of Utopia,
Scan detected.
and designer of the SIM Archive, a facility that allows the living to
No,
experience
I
the
pay
digitized
wish
memories of the deceased. Although at present it is only possible to experience these memories passively,
Okay.
Bernard has mentioned the possibility of incorporating them into a simulated version of the individual. Data Ghost, who can then be interfaced with, thereby allowing individuals to endure beyond death. In his youth, Bernard was expected to undertake a range of physical chores.
There it is. There's the nipple. There's the nipple right there.
Faithful to his family,
Tickle
and
the
has often
nipple.
spoken of digging
Tickle the
vegetables
nipple.
out of the ground and rebuilding Nicholas cultivation tunnels after a
We're
storm.
become a sex
At
talk
the
show
time, he
instead.
begrudged
We have
these
become a
tunnels.
sex talk show instead of, you know, still a video game streaming. It's just sex talk. Hi, welcome to the late
father's
night
memories,
sex talk.
he now appreciates that the work gave him an understanding of how the disadvantaged experience life, as well as reminding him that humanity is dependent upon the material world and must not hold it in contempt. Bernard is generally considered more commercially minded than his ascetic father, prompting his critics to condemn him as a plutocrat, with only a superficial interest in Utopia's ideals. His supporters, by contrast, paint him as combining the wisdom of his father with a shrewd commercial nous. Regardless, both sides agree that Utopia has undergone significant change under Pranav's leadership.
Damn it.
Pranav's prevalent concern, apart from continuing to expand Utopia, is the Acheron interface. His claim is that this project will allow users to translate their consciousness directly into data, thereby surpassing the limitations of the physical self.
Giggling
Some
away, you reckon?
commentators have expressed wariness, claiming the project spins
I think I'll finish the stream. That was a good 3-hour stream. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go have
the
sex.
system that translates intelligence into like the Acheron interface is not artificial intelligence, since the human being remains at the core of the process.
You're stop!
Individuals.
Oh yeah, I'm getting sex. Alright, thanks for watching the stream, guys. I'll do another stream tomorrow. Let you know how the sex goes. Alright, see you guys.